Welcome, everybody. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 111. I'm your handsome host, Gene Walzak, and running the ones and twos in my upper left corner is College Cottrell. What's popping, Cottrell?
Nothing much, man. Big week. I'm ready.
It is a big week. Y'all two, I don't know how you have, there's a little sliver in between you and Uncle Shally, and I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's enough on rivalry week. Uncle Shally's in the upper right corner. He's ready to rock and roll. He seems angry and agitated.
More just being deathly ill. But other than that, I'm ready to talk some trash to Cottrell.
Deathly ill. You're
It's
sick?
been a long, bro. It's been a long couple days.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, bro.
Show
must
go
go
on.
on.
Let us know. We would have sent a care package.
No
That's
bucks.
all right.
Not this week.
Yeah,
He's sick.
Cottrell would take credit for beating up on a sick opponent, but that's the Ohio State way. It's all right.
Hey, get over it. Grow up.
Hey,
Kind
listen,
of like the weather in the game last year. Get over it. Grow up.
no excuses. Play like a champion. I don't want to hear excuses after this Saturday. This is 12 noon, Thanksgiving weekend. No excuses after this game. I need to hear it. I need to see it. College football. Ohio State versus the Big M, Michigan. We're going to have a lot to talk to this week. We're going to NCAA basketball. We got the NFL. You see it right there. The Mount Rushmore bracket has been released. World Cup, the ping pong on grass. And then you got to be kidding me, but we got to start off with rivalry week. This shit talk needs to start. What's happening? Joseph Jeffers, Key Williams, Tiny Williams. We got some Williamses in the house. Joseph Jeffers representing Tennessee. I'm ready to rock and roll, guys.
Freddie's here early this week. He disappeared last week.
You know why? You know what the issue was? He was in church.
Did you tell him about your little rant going on?
Oh, he heard the little rant. He knows. He understands he's a fraud fan.
Freddie.
He gets it. We love Freddie. It's all right. Freddie's cool. We're on the Sports Empire Facebook. We're on the Sports Empire YouTube. We're on Tiki TV. And by the way, gentlemen, and all the listeners out there, thank you so much. We have just hit 1,000 downloads in the month of November, which is our highest downloaded month so far. That's not streams, that's downloads. Our streams are over 500,000 total since we started, 111 episodes in. Listen, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast is growing and blowing up. Let's be a part of something. I appreciate all y'all, so thank you. We got to get started with college football. Cottrell is still working on something. I don't know what it is, but we still love him. There's no other way. We're not going to lean into it. We can talk about the other football stuff on the side. We can talk about that afterwards, but there's no way. It's the main event. We're going to open up with the meat and potatoes, steak and lobster. The bullies of Michigan, the flash and talent of Ohio State in Columbus this year, but there might be weather. What's the forecast out there in Columbus?
51 and cloudy, last I checked.
Oh, that's an Ohio State weather forecast, right? If I ever heard one.
I don't know. CJ Stroud complains about the wind a lot, so I don't know.
But let's talk about Ohio State, Michigan. What's happening, y'all? So, Cottrell, since you're it's in your home state, why don't you lead us off? Let us know how you think the game's going to go. I'm sure you're picking it. It's got to be one of your pick'ems. I know for a fact you would never. There's no way you wouldn't have Ohio State minus 7.5 as one of your picks. But go ahead, tell us how the game's going to go.
Ohio State's going to win the game. I think that's very, very clear, especially now that Blake Corum is out. I would want to face those guys at full strength, but I don't think Blake Corum will play this week. I don't think Donovan Edwards will play this week either. Jim Harbaugh has basically already said, if those guys don't practice this week, they're not going to play. And I think that's huge for Michigan. Blake Corum was up potentially for the Heisman, as a top 5, top 6 candidate before his injury. But if you saw it, it was bad. And so I don't think he plays. With him not playing, I think Ohio State at home. They had the year to sit on that loss, and I think they take it to Michigan. I think that
Don't think it's close.
I think the first is very close, just the nature of the rivalry. But I do think Michigan is really going to hurt not having Corum there, not having Edwards there. Another one of their running backs ended up too. So I don't know if they're going to be down to their fourth string back or if their third string is actually going to start. JJ's first game against Ohio State, he has to go to. I mean, we've had injuries pretty much all season. Travion's been in and out. JSN's been in and out. But we've had a chance to actually respond without those guys. We've kind of got a chance to figure it out without them. This will be Michigan's first full game without Blake Corum. So I think they struggle. And I think Ohio State wins it pretty convincingly. I don't think there's ever a point in the second half where Michigan is up or within one score.
Bill, you all right there? You got heads down? You sleeping?
I'm just waiting for Kachal to be done with his nonsense. That's all.
All right, well, it's on you, brother.
So listen, week one, I said come November 26th. I asked Cottrell a question. I said, do you remember the last time both these teams were 11-0? And he knew right away, as an avid Ohio State fan should. I predict this week one. Everybody told me all year Michigan was going to have 2-3 losses. Ohio State game is not going to matter. I told them they were all wrong. I said they're going to both be sitting there 11-0. Here we are, the week of 11-0. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 3, 11-0, Michigan. I disagree slightly with Cottrell. I don't know if Blake Corum's going to play. If he doesn't play, I'm not going to sit here and beat around the bush and tell you we're as good a team as we are with him on the field, because that's just not the truth. I do think Donovan Edwards is going to play. I do have friends that still live out there and know people that are connected to the program. I think Donovan Edwards understandably is going to start the game if Blake Corum can't go. I think Blake Corum's going to try to go. I don't think they're going to let him play. We all saw the injury, hyperextended. He came back in from one series, had 2 carries, looked okay, but then they pulled him out right after that. That lends me to believe it's a little bit more serious than, they would like to lead on. But, Harbaugh's going to play that close to his vest, as he should. But I think Donovan Edwards plays. I think Travis Keegan's going to be back at left guard. Both tight ends are looking like they're on schedule to play. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think, I've said all year, I think as great as Ohio State's offense has looked at times, even without Smith and Jigma, which is a credit to Ryan Day and CJ Stroud and that staff. That defense hasn't sold me anything. They played a game against Northwestern, against a team in horrible weather when you knew they couldn't throw the ball, even if it was 75 and sunny, and they ran the ball down Ohio State's throat for most of that game. They struggled against Maryland last week against the run. Michigan's going to run the ball. If Donovan Edwards is there, I think you're going to get a big dose of him, and you're going to see why he was, the number 2 running back recruit in the country 2 years ago. Cottrell knows all well what he is, what he can be, what he's going to be. I think it's a good game. I don't think it's a blowout at halftime at all. I think it's a game that goes all the way down to the wire. I really do.
So you're definitely taking Michigan plus 7.5 as one of your picks, right?
I think the only detriment to it really being right now is that we're doing this on Wednesday. Obviously, come Friday, I think you're gonna have better clarity on who's playing and who's not. I would say if it's full strength, I honest to God, I think Michigan would go in there and beat them again. I really do. I don't think anything's changed on the defensive side of the ball for Ohio State. I don't. I don't think they could really slow down Michigan if they had to. But we'll see. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a good game, though. I don't think it's a blowout. I really don't.
Okay.
The last time Michigan beat us back to back, Blake Corum wasn't even alive yet. So I don't think we have any shot of this happening here. Especially if Blake's not playing. You say at full strength. I don't want to hear that. We're not at full strength either. I'm not buying into these Michigan apologists already trying to throw it out there. Oh, Blake Corum's the highest.
I'm not making excuses at all.
We're gonna be missing him. I don't want to hear any of this. We've had a guy who
you should take your own advice. You got your biggest cheerleader on ESPN Game Day talking about a game a year ago and still blaming it on the weather when you guys were full strength. So I don't think Ohio State should be accusing anybody of making excuses. You guys are still stuck on last year's game. Because it was cold.
As the moderator of this chat, I will not allow excuses from either one of y'all. That's not going to
I'm
happen.
not making any excuses.
So this
I
Saturday,
didn't make any excuses last year with the weather. You
he
guys
didn't.
played in it
He
just like
didn't.
we
You gotta
did.
give him credit. He didn't.
You did.
So
Yeah, see,
I got Cottrell here.
Joseph
I
Jemmer
got Bill
knows.
here. I want a score prediction from both of you guys.
I'll go Ohio State 42, Michigan 24.
It's an 18-point Ohio State victory.
Cottrell based that off what the spread opened at, not what it's at now. Came down 11 points. I'll go.
Y'all knew this moment was coming.
I'll go Michigan 38, Ohio State 33.
Woo! 38-33, 42-24. I don't have to make this pick right now. I'm gonna make this pick later. But let's pull up the college. Let's pull up the college rankings. Let's pull up the rankings the way they look now. There was something really interesting, and I know. First of all, there's multiple things very interesting about these rankings. And the more and more I see them, the more and more I lose faith in the college football playoff committee. Every time I see these rankings, I get more and more upset and annoyed at what they're doing, right? So let's start with the top four. It's easy, right? I think the top four are cemented. They're undefeated in Power 5 conferences. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. You can't really screw that one up. You can argue 3 is 2 and 2 is 3. You can argue that's about it. There's nothing else you could really argue on the first four. I think it's kind of obvious what those first four are. But after that, you have a 2-loss LSU team that got their hind kicked at home versus Tennessee and at basically a home game versus Florida State week 1 over a 1-loss USC team who has literally only trailed for 6 minutes the entire year. I think it's absolutely absurd that USC is 6th. Let's take it a step further. Alabama. Why are they 7?
They're trying to
beat
back
Austin P. I don't understand. Alabama lost 2 big games this year, and they're number 7 because they beat Austin P.
I agree 100%.
What are we talking about here? Why is Alabama 7?
And my thing is, if you wanna talk about teams taking bad losses, I understand LSU beat an Alabama team, but LSU lost by such a huge margin against Tennessee, and I haven't been one to say I think Clemson should be in the playoff, but they have 1 loss this season, and it's also to a team that's in the top 15 right now. So I don't know how you can have Clemson as low as 8 and have them behind 2-loss Bama. Honestly, I don't even know how you can have them behind 2-loss SU at this point. I know we'll do our changes and things like that right now, but that USC team lost by 1 to a team that's in the top 15 right now. So it's not like they lost to a bad school, And I just don't see how the committee keeps showing, that SEC bias. 1 loss should be 1 loss. I understand, it hurts, but you have a 2-loss team ahead of you and you're a Power 5 school and you're going against these top 15 schools and you lose to them. And it's, in USC's case, it's somewhat close and it's a 1-point game that you led all game. I don't see how that hurts you more than a team that's lost twice and got blew out at home.
I agree. I mean, and I think the LSU thing at 5, I think it's really starting to piss me off because I know exactly what they're doing. LSU is the only way the SEC gets two teams in this year. They are praying to God that they win the SEC championship so they don't have to go, oh, we took a 2-loss team that was ranked like number, 10th or 11th or 12th, which is probably where they should be. And we made them jump, 4th, or we made them jump, 5 to 6 spots to put them in the playoff. Because even if Georgia loses that game, we all agree Georgia's still in. So that's the only way they get it. So they keep them at 5. So if they pull off the miracle in the SEC championship game and win, they say, oh, it's not that big a stretch that they made the college football playoff. When all in reality, they shouldn't be in the top 10. Honestly, I mean, if you want to compare 2 lost teams, I agree with what a lot of what you both said already. Tennessee lost to, Tennessee's got a bad loss to South Carolina game now, obviously, but I mean, losing Hendon Hooker didn't help anything, so they're kind of a dead fish in the water. But I mean, at some point, I mean, I don't think Clemson's a top 4 team, but when you start looking at the resume and everything they've done, and their only loss is at Notre Dame, don't tell me a 2-loss Alabama. A 2-loss Alabama with 2 other close calls should be ahead of them. I'm not buying that anymore.
So hold on. Let me ask you a question real quick. Why would and listen, this is not me being any type of weird homer because I'm just asking the question because they're 2 losses that they have. Why does LSU have a better resume than Penn State?
I was getting to that. That was literally my next point. I agree with you.
Yeah,
100%.
they're next.
I don't understand how I don't understand how Tennessee gets smoked. And if we're being honest, I think all of us at some point on the show thought Tennessee was going to be in the Final Four, and they were kind of the feel-good story of the year type thing. And, they beat they beat Alabama, had that great game. But, I mean, listen, even if they beat South Carolina and other stuff happened, I don't know if good faith you could put them in the top 4 with not having Hendon Hooker for the rest of the year. So that being said, if you're evaluating all these teams on what they are right now, I don't think you could tell me Tennessee's a better team than Penn State. Penn State's got 2 losses, one on the road to the number 3 team and one at home to the number 2 team.
They were leading in the second half in both of those games. Now, Listen, I'm not saying Penn State's a playoff team, but my point being is, I just don't understand what makes LSU's resume that much better. And I have a hard time looking at this and understanding why they're ahead of a team like Clemson, USC. I just don't get it. I don't understand it.
I agree, 100%.
We got to play our game. I was
gonna say I somewhat get LSU being ahead of Penn State.
They have a better
if you
win.
Want to compare? That's the only thing I'll give them. But to that same token, I would have LSU and Bama down there with Oregon, Tennessee, and Penn State.
Yeah.
There's a wild scenario that TCU loses and still makes the college football playoff. Because, and follow me real quick, Georgia's going to beat LSU in the SEC title game. Mm-hmm. USC could lose in the Pac-12, or they could lose this week to Notre Dame.
USC could lose this week.
Correct. Alabama has 2 losses, and they won't be playing in the conference championship game. Clemson could lose 100% in the ACT championship game. So TCU could lose and still make it in the college football playoff. They could back in to the college football playoff because I don't see anybody has a better resume outside of that. Christopher Almaro, you keep saying LSU can beat Georgia. I don't disagree. I think any team can beat any team. Appalachian State showed Texas A&M that earlier in the season. I'm not saying that LSU can't beat Georgia, but that game will open up a 17-point spread.
It's 15.5. Look
15, at it. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
No. That's what it is. 15.5 right now.
So it's like saying a super dog could win outright, which does happen. Happened last week. South Carolina picked up Cottrell 50 points on their super dog. But with that being said, I don't understand. So if Georgia loses the college football playoff, right? I mean, loses the SEC championship game. Let's just say they lose to LSU. And TCU, Michigan, Ohio State win out. Do you put the SEC champion winner, LSU, in? Or do you put Georgia?
Well, Michigan, Ohio State can't win out. Only one of them can. If LSU beats Georgia somehow, the loser of Michigan, Ohio State is definitely out.
I disagree with saying definitely out. Depending on how that game goes. I think
if it's a close game, I still think you need some combination of 2 of the other 3 losing. You need TCU to lose somewhere, and then either USC or Clemson to lose in the conference championship game, or USC to lose to Notre Dame. You need that.
If Ohio State, I'll say this, I think if Ohio State loses at home, I think they're automatically out. If Michigan goes into Ohio State and plays a close game without Blake Corum, and it's a 1-possession game when it's all said and done, and they lose like a walk-off field goal or something like that, absolutely there's a chance that Michigan can still be in, even if LSU beats Georgia.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I said this game's way more important for Ohio State to win than Michigan. I actually, if I had to predict what was going to happen, I would predict Michigan still makes the playoff, even if they lose. And I'm predicting a close. All right, so I'm on both sides of the fence. I don't mean to be on both sides of the fence, but this is just the way I see the game going. I have it 31-28 Ohio State. So I have Michigan covering and I have Ohio State winning. So I'm not picking the game because I feel like it's a nail biter. It can go either way. But that's kind of how I see the game playing out. And if that happens, if that outcome happens, you can't put any, as long as LSU doesn't beat Georgia in the SEC title game. It's funny, I keep referring to SEC title game as the national championship. I shouldn't do that. But if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC title game, then some bets are off. But I don't care if USC wins the Pac-12 championship and beats Notre Dame. I still think that Michigan has a better resume with being a one-loss team losing at Ohio State. Just my personal opinion. And I think that I don't, the committee has shown you that they're unpredictable and that they will constantly put in the teams that we don't necessarily think are the best teams, but they'll put in the teams that draw the most market. And I believe that that's what's going to happen. I believe they're waiting. They're chomping at the bits for TCU to lose. They want TCU to lose so bad so they can put LSU or USC or Clemson into that college football playoff because it's going to generate way more money. It's the truth.
It's going to be a better football game. I mean, if we're just being honest here, I think, I think USC is a better football team than TCU. I think Ohio State and Michigan are both better teams than TCU. One has to this week. But, I mean, if TCU go undefeated, of course, they're going to be in. But I think rooting for TCU to lose, obviously, it's better for everyone involved besides Georgia.
Well, let's play our game now. Let's play our game. We all get to move one. We'll go. I'll start this week because I always go last. So we'll go bottom to top. Me, Shally, Cottrell. All right. So I'm going to move Clemson ahead of Alabama. I'm swapping 8 and 7.
So I can't touch Alabama then either, right?
No.
I will flop Penn State and Oregon then.
Okay. So that gives you the easy one, Cottrell. You're going to take USC over LSU. I know that's where you're going.
Definitely. USC over LSU. I was kind of hoping Shally didn't touch Tennessee because didn't touch Oregon because I would have slid Tennessee down, but I'll take USC over LSU.
If we're not lying to each other, why wouldn't you flop UNC and Tennessee? And just follow me real quick, okay? I know you guys think I'm nuts. Just follow me here for a minute. They're basically college football playoff rankings. They're basically power rankings. Hendon Hooker's out for the year. He's done. Tennessee's done. I don't care how high they finish. They're done. UNC has 2 losses this year, and they have a quarterback that's a Heisman candidate. What are we like? Why would we not?
You still have to reward them for
they're
what
coming
they've
off
done.
of a bad loss. They're coming off a bad loss. Losing to Georgia Tech a week before, and I get it. Obviously it was a trap game, but losing a week before, your season's really on the line. I think that's tough, and I don't think you can reward North Carolina for being that high. Now, if you want to say you want them a little bit higher, and you want to swap them with a team like Washington
swap with Tennessee.
Yeah. If you want to swap
them, Washington back. I'm talking about Washington moving up. Michael Penix Jr. and that Washington teams look really good this year.
They have for sure. But I'm just saying, I think North Carolina would be better suited for the 12-13 range than the 10 spot after losing Georgia Tech.
Also, don't think Notre Dame should be ranked higher than North Carolina either. But
I think Notre Dame's too high, but I disagree with the North Carolina thing. I think they were a little bit higher than they should have been. And then they had that, they went on that tear, and then all of a sudden, they haven't really played anybody. They're sitting there 8-1. But then, Georgia Tech's a really bad loss. That's a bad loss.
It is. Losing by 30 to South Carolina is a bad loss.
I agree.
Say what you want to say, but losing by 31 to South Carolina is not a good loss.
And don't let it fool you. Hendon Hooker played all the first half and played some of the third quarter, and they were still losing with him on the field. It wasn't like he left and
you said that, man. You said that at the end of the first quarter. You said Spencer Rattler was looking like Heisman Trophy Spencer Rattler.
Oh yeah,
You said that
they were
first
two
quarter.
possessions. They were two possessions in, and I was like, yeah, this is about to be a long day for Tennessee. I mean, South Carolina just looked like they had every Owen Spencer Rattler was looking like he was looking like the truth, like what we were fully expecting him to be when he was in Oklahoma.
I just
think
look at
he's
like the
ever a
3
good
or
pro?
4. No.
Do I think what?
Do you think he's ever a good pro?
I think there's a possibility for him. I think that game showed me that he still has the talent. I think his problem is a lot of attitude, the way he approaches things. You know, I forgot this. They have a QB show on Netflix, and you could see the clips of him while high school. You know, he was just this arrogant, cocky kid,
I've seen it,
and that kind of
but you can't hold that
rubbed
over
off on
him
him at
now.
Oklahoma. No. But I'm just saying, I think that played a part of how he was at Oklahoma as well, though. You know, he was this cocky kid, and he had all talent. And in that situation, there's a kid right behind Caleb Williams, who was the number 1 quarterback in the country, and you have to be on top of your game when you have that kind of talent behind you. In the NFL, you know, they're not going to, in a sense, they wait for you to develop, but they're not going to wait forever for you to develop. So I think if he can get his mind right and he comes ready to compete, then I think he can be a good quarterback in the league if he goes to the right system.
So which rivalry game this week most intrigues you guys? Outside of Michigan, Ohio State, we can't add that one, but we got a ton of them. We got the Egg Bowl, we got the Civil War, got a lot of them this week. Iron Bowl. Which one intrigues you the most to watch? Which one will you have your eyes on when you're not watching Ohio State, Michigan?
I mean, the Notre Dame USC game is a rivalry game. They play every year. I think that's the second biggest game of the week for me.
Yeah.
They don't play for a trophy or anything, but they play every year. That game has a lot of implications. If USC loses that game, they're definitely out. And that, you know, I'm selfishly, I think, rooting for Notre Dame in that game just in case. That's one less domino to fall, you know, for the loser.
Bill,
Michigan, Ohio State again.
Bill, you just basically are trying to work out predictions if Michigan loses. That's crazy to me, bro. I would be so confident going into this week if I was a Michigan fan.
Listen, gotta have backup plans, bro.
I get it. I just think that's like you're like selfishly rooting for the scenario.
No, I'll say this, and we've said it numerous ways all the way throughout this show. I think those 3 teams are the best 3 teams in the country, especially with Tennessee not having Hendon Hooker now. I think it's those 3 teams, and then I think it's a drop down to everybody else. I think if those 3 teams aren't in the college football playoff, I think it's a travesty. So I'm doing, and I mean this when I say I feel the same way about Ohio State. If we beat Ohio State this weekend, I think it would be a joke if Ohio State's not in the top 4, and I mean that.
So is the Big 12 championship set to who TCU is going to play?
No, it's not. It's going to be either Kansas State or Texas. Kansas State has to win, but if they lose, then Texas is in.
TCU?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I thought TCU played Kansas State this week.
No, they play Iowa State this week.
Oh, got my states mixed up. So who's Kansas State play this week? Kansas?
Yep.
Yeah, they play Kansas. Oh, man, that stinks. I really want to find a way to get Texas in there. I would love to see a rematch of that Texas-TCU game.
Kansas won last week with what's-his-face back, didn't they?
They did win last week.
Yeah, JT Daniels.
No, they didn't. No, they got no. Kansas got blew out. They played Texas.
Oh, that's right.
They got beat 55-14 last week.
That's what it was.
We need Kansas to beat Kansas State so we can get a Texas versus TCU Big 12 championship game, because anything less.
I think Kansas State can.
I mean, listen, they're sitting there number 12. They're no joke.
I understand, but I don't want to see Kansas State TCU. I think Texas. I think you line Texas up versus TCU again, they beat them. I really believe that.
Maybe. I mean, Kansas State.
Gene is just on the Quinn Ewers wave now.
Kansas State.
I like Bijan. I like Xavier Worthy. I like the whole team, bro, if I'm being honest with you.
I wish Xavier Worthy was smarter. It frustrates me.
But so you saying USC Notre Dame? That's a good one. Any other rivalry you're looking at this week, Cottrell?
South Carolina and Clemson's always a fun one, and I think with South Carolina coming off of that win and Spencer Rattler showing that he can still be a really good quarterback, I'm curious to see if he can get that going 2 weeks in a row. South Carolina, they showed a lot to me last week, and I know I picked them for Superdog. I was not expecting that performance out of them, so I think going up against this Clemson team this week, that could be another great game in the Battle of South Carolina.
I'll tell you the one I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to NC State versus North Carolina. Devin Leary, Drew May.
Is Devin Leary back?
Is Devin Leary playing?
I don't think so.
Oh, see, when
I think he's done for the year.
Oh, that sucks. Well, never mind. I'll change my opinion.
That's why you don't see NC State in these rankings anymore. They keep losing without them.
Well, then that game won't matter.
Yeah,
Oregon State can really knock off Oregon, though. I really like that's a crazy game, too.
Civil War. It's a great game.
Civil War.
That's my backup.
Oregon State sitting there at 21.
Oregon State, they're a team that keeps creeping up. They don't have any great wins on their resume, but they keep creeping up.
I think I constantly just root against Bo Nix because I don't like him.
What's wrong with them? Just don't like him?
I just don't like him.
Gene's never liked him.
Never liked him. Didn't like him at Auburn. Don't like him at Oregon. I didn't like the overhype that Oregon was getting all year after they got boat raced week 1, and I was arguing against it all year, and then finally they lost again, so I don't have to worry about it again. So that made me feel better.
Not gonna lie,
must-win game for the Vols this week versus Vandy to save it. The season's over, Joseph Jeffers. What are you trying? A New Year's Six bowl so you can guys get blown out without Hendon Hooker? I don't understand. I know you're a Tennessee fan, but your season ended, and it's okay because you can leave the season being like we beat Alabama for the first time in 12 years, and then next year you can go into it and hope that you have a better season. But at the end of the day, what do you win in that? Why do you disagree,
Gene?
What does Tennessee get out of that?
Going to a New Year's Six bowl. I mean,
getting boat raced.
It's special, and you got to think too that some of these schools, depending on who they play, some of these schools might not even play their guys. Like a team like, let's say they won't play Alabama, but a team like Alabama, some of their top guys might opt out just because, hey, this isn't the playoff. This is what we came here for. We're getting ready for the NFL draft, So
yeah, but
I think
to play devil's advocate there, if you're a Tennessee guy and you're getting ready, you're getting boat raced without your quarterback. I'm not playing that game either.
You're not. Though. You don't know that you're getting. You don't know that you're getting boat raced. Joseph Jeffers makes a great point. Joe Milton was their starting quarterback last year before he got hurt.
Joe Milton's a bum, bro. Joe Milton's a bum, bro.
Michigan.
Yeah, he couldn't start at Michigan. He stinks. And he went down there and lost a starting job because he did the same thing here. He throws the ball to the other team all the time.
Got hurt. Lost the job. Got hurt.
Oh my God.
Hooker came in, lit it up.
He stinks.
I don't think Tennessee gets boat raced in the bowl game. I think they have talent. I know it's tough losing.
Who do they play in New Year's Day Superstar? Who do they play in New Year's Day bowl that they don't get boat raced? They play Oregon to get boat raced.
I disagree.
They can't. They won't play Bama and they won't play.
They play Penn State. They get boat raced.
I disagree again. I think Penn State wins. I don't think they get boat raced.
You don't think Penn State boat races them with their backup quarterback?
They don't. They don't have a. Penn State just doesn't have a boat race type offense. I agree with you. I think
they have a defense. Period. They'll have 63 to South Carolina.
Hey, Spencer Rattler is models ahead of Sean Clifford. So I think
Sean Clifford ain't Spencer Rattler either. So I mean, your options there are like a USC, a Clemson, Penn State.
SC. I think because the SEC, they won't play LSU, they won't play Bama. One of the Pac-12 schools has to go to the Rose Bowl.
Can I ask you a question? Does Penn State? All right, so say Michigan and Ohio State both make the college football playoff. Is it the loser of the Big Ten championship game or the next best team? Because
next best team.
Then it would be Penn State. Okay, so Penn State get a Rose Bowl. First,
no. That all comes down to selections and weird things. Like the loser of Penn State or loser of Ohio State, Michigan is going to go in the New Year's Six Day Bowl, and that becomes a choice thing. And they're
No,
not.
I'm saying if
Ohio
both,
State and Michigan both make the playoff, is what he's saying.
Oh, if they both make it? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Then Penn State will go. The next highest finishing team.
I like that. Give me Penn State, USC. Although
Listen,
I
Penn
kind of
State
selfishly want Penn State to play at Oregon because I want USC to make the playoff.
Me too.
Penn
USC
State-
is the fourth best team in the country as it sits right now. I want them in.
Their defense can't stop nobody though, bro. Stop.
They can't, but they score a lot of points.
Their defense is atrocious. Like their offense can score with anybody in that top three right now, but everybody in that top three is putting 50 plus on USC. Every single one of them. They are terrible. Listen, I mean, we'll get into pick 'em soon.
We're going to pick them now because we're basically done college football. But real quick, I just want to make a statement, right? I think Brian Kelly is getting too much credit, and Marcus Freeman is not getting enough credit because their two resumes are not far off from. And I believe that Brian Kelly is getting too much credit for LSU, and I don't think Marcus Freeman's getting enough credit for bringing Notre Dame all the way back from the pits of despair.
I'm on the surface with that. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell you this. I think Brian Kelly, as much as we all shit on him on this show, and deservedly so, because none of the three of us can stand him. I think that being said, you have to give him his roses for this year. I do. I believe that. I think going there with what he was walking into and with the amount of talent that walked out that door before he got the team, for them to be sitting at where they're at. I mean, listen, I think when they lost that first week to Florida State, we all thought that's what was coming all year. Like they were going to be, a 7-5 type team. He was going to be a year or two away until he got a couple recruiting classes in there. So that being said, I think he deserves credit for what he's done. Marcus on the other side, I think with him, what he got so much, I want to say credit kind of up front, and then went to Ohio State, and I don't want to say laid an egg, but they didn't look good the way they lost that game. And then they kind of went away for a while. They lost, and then they lost to Marshall at home. Got beat pretty bad by Marshall at home. And they were just kind of out of sight, out of mind for a while. And they just kept winning and winning and winning and winning. And then Clemson came to town, and they just laid a thumping on Clemson. And now you're getting a lot of Marcus love again. You see Notre Dame back where they are. I think it's about even, if I'm being honest. I think
I hate Brian Kelly. Christopher O'Mara, you are correct.
I know you do. I
don't like him. I don't like anybody with the last name Kelly that coaches college football. Period.
Understood there. I mean, I think the big thing with Brian Kelly is I do want to give him his credit because he went into that LSU job, and since Joe Burrow, Jamar, Jefferson, all those guys left, LSU hadn't been the same the last two seasons. And I'm not saying that this team is anywhere close to that level, but for them to even be, obviously, we don't think they should be in the top 5 right now, but for them to be in the top 5 and in contention to potentially make the playoff, and they're going to the SEC championship game his first year, I think that's a feat that's a tough feat to accomplish when you got Saban there and he's returning the Heisman Trophy winner, and you go out and beat him and get everything done. I think with Marcus Freeman, Bill made a great point. Losing to Ohio State your first game, obviously that's a very tough, but then losing to Marshall, it was kind of like borderline unforgivable in a sense, just because of Marshall non-Power 5 school, but they're finally getting it back together now. Notre Dame wasn't in horrible shape before with Brian Kelly. They just couldn't get over the top with him. It was always all this hype is good. Notre Dame's this, Notre Dame's that. They play a good team and then they lose. I do want to give Marcus Freeman credit, though. He's got those guys bought in. I think Notre Dame will be better long-term than what they were with Brian Kelly, but I don't think we've seen Marcus Freeman really hit his peak yet, as with Brian Kelly going to the SEC championship game your first year. I think, that has all the hype behind it, because it's like, oh, well, maybe they can beat Bama. Maybe they can beat Georgia. We saw them already. I don't think that, but I think that's where that comes from.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into pick 'em. What's up, Timmy Todd? How you feeling, brother? Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at this super dog record. What is going on here? It's over. We stopped doing the super dog. She's done. But we can do it, but it's over.
Well, Cottrell's definitely going to win super dog. It's a matter of who wins the normal ones, which
I
is
will say
still up for grabs.
I'm very disappointed. Last week I gave you the double dip with Buffalo and Akron, and they canceled the game. Well, they postponed it. I thought that game would be a gimme. I knew the Browns games was going to get moved. That's why I didn't pick it last week. I thought they'd move Buffalo's game too because it was obviously in Buffalo. They didn't move it, and now I'm behind like 2 games here.
I mean, you're still percentage. No, you're not. Me and Chow are percentage wise up.
Yeah.
2 more wins, 1 more loss. Yeah, it's 60. Yeah. All right. Well, Shally, what's the order this week?
We'll go straight across the board record wise here. So we'll go Cottrell, Gene, and me.
Okay.
No problem. All right. So my first game this week, I have North Carolina at home -6.5 versus NC State. So you'll see a common theme with me this week. I like a lot of the home teams. You got to keep in mind, this is going to be a lot of their senior nights and things like that. I think there's a lot of pride in these schools. And, of course, it's rivalry week as well. We talked about it a little bit earlier. NC State's going to be without Devin Leary. I think for UNC to somewhat save their season heading into the ACC championship game, because if you find a way to beat Clemson, you're going to be guaranteed a New Year's Six game. So I think UNC puts it on that NC State team at home. I like the under 64.5 Notre Dame at USC. Look, I get it. USC gives up a ton of points all the time. That Notre Dame offense isn't built to score, for us. And I think USC will score a lot of points, but I can easily see that game being a 31-24 kind of game where you're mid to high 50s, but I don't think it touches that 64.5 mark. And I like Texas A&M plus 9.5 at home versus LSU. Look, I know LSU is getting all this hype. We just talked about them. Texas A&M at home at College Station. I think LSU might be looking ahead a little bit. They know they're going up against Georgia in the SEC championship game. And Texas A&M is at that point where their season has been so disappointing so far this year. It'd be great for those seniors to cap it off with a win at home against that LSU team that's top 5 and essentially knock them all the way out of the playoff push. In my super dog this week, I like USF plus 19.5 versus UCF. I think this is a game where UCF will win. But again, I think they're looking ahead a little bit. They're going to be looking forward to that matchup against Cincinnati coming for the conference championship game. And I think they might come out a little flat. USF, again, home team, like their seniors to give them that push. And I think USF covers that 19.5.
All right, you said USF, Superdog. Okay, just writing it down so I can bet it later because your Superdog record is absolutely absurd. Jesus. All right, I get to go next. I got Wake Forest -3.5 over Duke. This isn't basketball. I'll take Wake Forest. Give me Oregon -3 over Oregon State. I'll take Muhammad Ibrahim and Minnesota +3 over Wisconsin. And for my super dog, this is such a bad pick. I don't even care. Give me UMass +19.5 over Army. So
it's not a bad pick at all, Gene. I was thinking about that game, man. I genuinely was thinking that's not a bad pick.
I just don't know if Army can just outscore someone by 21 points. Like I don't know.
Exactly.
That's why I make that pick. By the way, could you imagine if A&M won that football game versus LSU and the pandemonium that would create?
That'd be nuts. That would be nuts.
So, Cottrell, I'd have to check my math on this, but I don't think UCF can make the championship game. I'm pretty sure Cincinnati and Tulane are playing this weekend, and the winner that hosts the same team next weekend, because I think they both beat UCF. I could be wrong, but I just thought I remember hearing it. I think Cincinnati and Tulane are both already in.
Joseph Jeffers. I don't bet against Vandy for the rest of the year. We don't talk about Bruno. I lost on Bruno once. We don't talk about Bruno, okay? No more Vandy this year. I'm not touching him. I don't know what Tennessee is going to look like this week without Hendon Hooker. I don't care about that game enough to bet it. At the end of the day, I love what the Vols brought me during the season, a 52-49 win over Alabama, and that's all I'm going to rest my head on. I'm happy about what the Vols did this year. They went to Georgia. They got beat up by the Bulldogs, and now they're without their Heisman quarterback. Heisman finalist quarterback. Might not even be a finalist now. We got to talk about Heisman finalists, though, by the way. We'll talk about that next week. But Tennessee is done. Yeah, I said they're done. I don't know what to talk about. They're done. Just responding to some comments. Shall give me your picks this week.
All right, so I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to go down to the Iron Bowl. I'm going to take Alabama minus 22.5. I think for, not for Auburn's sake anyway. I think to Auburn's dismay, this kind of becomes Alabama's Super Bowl now. They have no shot of making the college football playoff. They're not even making the SEC championship game. This reeks of a Nick Saban douchebag performance of trying to win by like 50 plus. So I will go Alabama minus 22.5 at home versus Auburn. Second game I'm going to pick, I'm going to take number 17 UCLA at minus 10.5 at California. California can't stop anybody. If anybody saw UCLA's offense play last week, they can move the ball. DTR played great until that last throw in his own coverage. But again, I think this is UCLA's last chance to make an impression and climb back up the rankings, maybe sneak into a New Year's Six-Day Bowl, depending on what happens with USC. I think they go to Cal and put it on them.
That'll be good for the edit.
Yeah, make sure you get that out. Christ. And my last game, I'm going to plus 5.5 at USC. I don't think this game's getting enough attention, if I'm being honest. I think Notre Dame's going to go out there and perform very well. I think we talked about their week one game against Ohio State. Granted, their offense looked terrible, but their defense is well in that game. They have a top 10 defense nationally. I'm not saying by any means they're going to go to USC and hold USC to 10 points or anything like that, but they will slow down USC enough to where I think they can be methodical on offense and run the ball and put up points against USC. I do agree with Cottrell. I think it's a lower scoring game than what people think it's going to be because I think it's going to be a ball control game. I think if Notre Dame stays in that game, they're going to run the ball. USC is not going to stop them. It's going to be a bunch of long drives. It's not going to be a bunch of 4-play, 80-yard touchdown drives. That's not what you're going to get in that game, in my opinion. So I like Notre Dame plus 5.5. As Gene would like to say, if you got some free money, I'd put a bunch of money on Notre Dame to win that game outright. I feel strongly in that game. And then my super dog pick, this is an absolute loser. I don't know why I'm picking it. I think I need a lot of things to happen right in this game for this to even come close to hitting. I'm going to take Georgia Tech plus 36.5 versus Georgia. And I'm taking this solely on the basis that I think Georgia's up huge at halftime. And I think Kirby Smart does the smart thing and pulls everybody out of the game, knowing that his season matters next week in the SEC championship game. And I think maybe Georgia Tech just backdoor covers us somehow. I don't know. Probably not. They probably lose by 63. I don't know. But I'm taking Georgia Tech plus 36.5 at Georgia.
I think Georgia's backups can beat them by 21.
And you're probably not wrong.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech's coming.
I just got some news, gentlemen. I mean, we're right between NCAA and NFL. I just got some news. It seems as at UFC 285, John Jones
earlier
is going to fight Francis Ngannou.
Is it confirmed though?
That's that. The report just literally got listed.
All right, because I saw it earlier today on like a bunch of like random MMA like Twitter sites, but nothing like anywhere like credible.
They said that if Francis can't go because of injury, Curtis Blades is going to be the backup there.
When's 285? I
believe it said March.
Like, how is he? He's been out for already a year. Like, how is he not ready?
I mean, he had 2 torn MCL, so I don't know how long that's a don't know how long it takes
got
to
done
recover
at the
from
same
that.
time.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Everybody's gonna get what they wanted for as long as they got it. Because if Francis comes back in the shape he was in before he got hurt, he's going to knock out John Jones cold. That will be that's not a fight John wants. I'm telling you that right now. I don't understand. You know, you have a warm up fight at heavyweight and see what he looks like. He's gonna be quick, but I'm telling you, Francis is gonna hit him with that one hitter quitter, and it's gonna be night for John Jones. I know that's Charles' favorite fighter. I'm telling you right now, Francis Ngannou is going to night John Jones if they fight.
I think that's the surprising part to me, that he's not fighting at heavyweight against someone else before that.
Yeah, I get it. He's a big money fighter, but that's a crazy.
I mean, I get it. Francis at that point
cuts to get to the maximum. He cuts to get to 265.
Yeah,
that's not the first guy I'd fight.
I think with John though, a lot of that though, like he's taken obviously a lot of the time that he's taken off. It hasn't all been on purpose, you know. He's had some run-ins with the law, of course, because it's jumps. But I do think
he hasn't fought in like 2 years.
He hasn't, right? But I think part of that though was that he purposefully took time off to get his body together because he knew he wanted to go up to heavyweight.
He did,
and it takes time to get your weight up and get build that strength post, just having your numbers up on the scale to be at the heavyweight level. So I do think he took the time to get himself together, and I think that's going to be a great fight. I don't think he knocks him out. I think it'll be a great fight.
I think if Ngannou wins, if Ngannou wins, it's by knockout. I don't think anyone
wins by points.
Yeah, I don't think any of us think that fight's going 5 rounds. I mean, so
Ngannou by submission.
Yeah,
that's not happening.
Listen, bro. I mean, if the last 3 months have taught us anything, who the hell knows?
Gentlemen, we have the NFL. I cannot wait to talk about NFL sports. There's so many things that happen this week. And we got Turkey Day tomorrow, guys. Let's give just a little quick prediction on what happens on Turkey Day. Don't have to be any of your picks. Just, you know, what you're looking forward to tomorrow, because there's 3 games, and we got some listeners that are going to be around some family members they don't like, and they might want to sprinkle a little cash on the games. I tell you, I have the winners. It's going to go away, home, away.
Ooh, I disagree slightly.
Okay, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills in a high-scoring game with the over versus the Detroit Lions. Maybe like a 38 to 33 game, something a little nuts. I think that the Lions are going to score. Jared Goff scores at home and just does it all the time. I got the Dallas Cowboys in a blowout over the New York Giants. And I love the Patriots. I think the Patriots beat the Vikings. Listen, I'm going to say something again, like I told you last week. Minnesota struggles. Kirk Cousins struggles when he gets hit early in a game. And New England is getting after the quarterback and playing downhill on defense. I'm not worried about their offensive game. It's going to be a low-scoring, ugly Thursday night football game. And I got the Patriots just beating up Kirk Cousins. I'll even go a little bolder, right? I think the Patriots defense outscores the Vikings offense.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah, they're kind of wild. But I have the same game. I just think the games go a little bit differently. I think high scoring, Buffalo, Detroit. I agree with that. I think that Giants and Dallas game is going to be a lot closer than a blowout. The Giants just lost last week, and I feel like we're again looking ahead. The game at home against the Lions, you find a way to lose that game, and you knew you were going to Dallas on Thanksgiving. I think Brian Dable will have those guys ready to go. I still think Dallas wins because they're a better football team, but I think that game's somewhat close. And then I agree, lower scoring, drag them through the mud game for the Patriots. But the way Matthew Judon's been getting after the quarterback and the way Jack Jones has been at corner and those other DBs in New England, the way that they've been playing, I think they give Kirk Cousins a rough night. And it's a primetime game. So primetime, last game of the evening, Kirk Cousins doesn't fare well in those. So I think it's just a horrible mix for any Vikings fan.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm fully have always been on the Kirk Cousins sucks in primetime boat. I just feel like by luck, one of these times he has to play well.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, he eventually will. It might not be tomorrow night. I think if they weren't coming off the shellacking that Dallas laid on them last week, I would be more open to picking New England to win. I think Minnesota gets it done somehow. I don't think it's going to be necessarily impressive or flashy or anything like that. I think Minnesota wins at home though.
There's so many crazy things that just came down in ESPN news over the last couple days, but just the last couple hours. I'll just read a couple things off. Rodgers confirms he has a broken right thumb. That's big.
Here come the excuses.
It's fine.
Their season is over. Doesn't matter.
Justin Fields has a separated shoulder and is probably not going to play this week.
Non-throwing.
See, it's funny you just said that. It's got to be non-throwing, I'm assuming. It's funny you just said that because I was looking, that line jumped a lot. Like New York's not starting Zach Wilson, and it was 2.5. It's already up to +6 now.
Yeah.
So I would assume that he's not playing.
Yeah. Out of curiosity,
what's that over-under at now? Because I definitely have that as one of my picks.
38.5.
Okay. All right.
That's a goddamn high school line.
It's crazy, but there's a lot of things that happened this week. Let's talk about one that I'm very happy to talk about. Davis Mills gets benched in Houston. I was told that he was better than Trevor Lawrence.
This is a passive
and Justin Fields.
Oh, it's fucking direct. I don't know passive aggressive. I say what you want to say. That Davis Mills is better than Trevor Lawrence. Ass of 9, ass of 10, ass of 11. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all crazy.
I mean, the Justin Fields one is one of the most egregious things ever. But I mean,
what do you mean?
That he's better than Justin Fields.
No one said that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, Davis Mills better than both of them. Apparently,
is that what was? That's what I'm saying. That's what he just said. That's what I thought was said.
Nope. Justin Fields. I don't ever heard anybody say Davis Mills better than Justin Fields, except David Mills' mama.
No, she even said it.
Bench quarterback Zach Wilson apologizes to Jets after being benched. Is that anybody who got to be kidding me?
It is not, but I mean,
let's talk about that.
I'll tell you what, I became a fan of Garrett Wilson after that game. I'll tell you that much. To be a rookie and hold that much clout to go out and pretty much put everybody on notice in a post-game interview, kind of put the responsibility at everybody's feet. I give that guy some credit.
Know where he went
Any
to school?
Comments? What?
I know where he went to school. Why do you think I was so hesitant to say it, asshole?
No, I mean, I think that's a tough position for Robert Saleh to be in. You know, you have a drafted second overall, and it's his second year, and you know you want him to develop, but at the same time, your team is playing so well this year. You guys have a chance to do something special. You've already knocked out the Buffalo Bills, and if you could beat the Bills in the AFC, I don't want to say you could beat anybody, but essentially you could beat anybody if you play well and do the things you got to do. So as much as you want your young quarterback to develop and you want him to be that future guy, you also have to think about what's best for right now, because we're not thinking about our quarterback development. We're thinking about trying to make it to the playoffs and ultimately try to win a Super Bowl. So I think that's a very tough decision that Robert Saleh had to do. And it wasn't like Zach wasn't winning games. He was 5-2, I believe, as a starter, with 2 losses being to New England.
But he's not winning games, bro. I think we talk about winning.
He's not winning games. But Robert Griffin III, as much as I don't like the guy, he brought up a great point. Washington isn't winning games because of Tyler Heineke, but he's in there. They're winning games, and so they're riding the hot hand. Same thing that it was with Dallas when Cooper Rush were winning games. You know, he wasn't going out throwing for 400 yards, things like that, but the team finds ways to rally around that guy, whether it be coincidence or not. They're winning football games while he's out there, and I think Zach Wilson, he was kind of the same way. I know they won a game without Zach Wilson out there, but 5-2 to lose your job.
Everybody, me, Bill, you need to thank our lucky stars that the Jets missed on that pick, because I'm gonna tell you something right now. The Jets are a franchise quarterback away from being a juggernaut.
Yep.
Yep.
a juggernaut.
I
And
just
it's
dropped it in our
absolutely
group message.
it's hilarious to me that if they take Justin Fields,
Jets are a problem.
a problem.
Might be 9-0 this year.
Might be.
And at the end of the day,
they're giving Buffalo everything they want for that division if they have Justin Fields. I promise you that.
Robert Saleh is a hell of a football coach, and that defense has an attitude to it. Sauce Gardner is as locked down as a quarterback has been coming out of this draft. Yo, Sauce Gardner has been lived up to every bit of the hype. Man, that he's unbelievable. I love watching that. Love watching that Jets team. And Breece Hall got hurt. Could you imagine if Breece Hall was still there? Oh man, that team has so many really, really good spots to it. Zach Wilson being the lone ugly spot.
I think Zach Wilson, they were talking about this on ESPN today a little bit. Damian Woody brought up a point when he got benched, and he said, this happens to a lot of great players in their career. It's all about how you handle it and internalize it and how you react to it. He said, he was like, I got benched for 5 games. He's like, and it was, it ended up being the best thing that ever happened in my football career. He goes, I never took another down for granted when I played in the NFL. Is Zach Wilson going to go home and study a little bit more? And, Garrett Wilson pretty much accused him of not knowing the game plan amongst some other things. He's got to mature a little bit. I mean, I think Zach Wilson's known just as much for kind of his off the field stuff and, his endorsements and being the pretty boy and maybe not banging best friends' moms. I don't know. I'm just saying, just speculating. But I think, if you want to go to New York and play in the biggest media market in the country, you get more praise and it's great, but the criticism is even more sharp. And again, they're in a weird spot where Robert Saleh's got this team ahead of schedule. And, we saw it already with the Buffalo game. This team's ready to win, to compete. This wasn't going to be like another, I think maybe some people thought this was going to be the last year of the rebuild and more of a developmental year again. And to his credit, he's got that team way ahead of schedule. And we just touched on it. If they had a great quarterback or even a good quarterback, this team's absolutely a playoff team. They're 100% a playoff team. And that's even with Breece Hall being hurt. You have a good quarterback, and you have Breece Hall with that defense. Garrett Wilson's getting better every week. They got to develop a steady number 2 next to him. He's going to be a number 1. I mean, you've already seen flashes of it.
Maybe Elijah Moore is that number 2 because maybe the issue that he had with the team was Zach Wilson not preparing and not throwing in the ball. Maybe that trade request gets rescinded. Maybe he starts seeing the ball a little bit more with Mike White or Joe Flacco, depending on who they go with. Have they named the starter yet? I think it's Mike White.
Sure
going on Mike White. No, they named Mike White. Mike White's going to start Sunday. And again, I don't know if we've seen really how good Garrett Wilson can be. Or, I mean, we all thought Elijah Moore coming out was going to be a nice player.
Correct.
I don't think we know because I don't think they have a guy that can put the ball in their hands consistently on time. And that's a problem. But listen, I think Zach Wilson's got to go home, do some soul searching. I think we could all agree on this. He has the physical tools to do it. But like anybody knows, if you're a quarterback and you don't have it between the ears, you're not going to make it. You're just not. It's too complex and too much of a demanding position. And if you don't have it up top, I don't care how far you can throw the freaking ball. I don't care how hard you can throw the ball. You're not going to make it.
You just led me into my next topic perfectly.
You're welcome.
It was perfect. It was Segway Shally. He was back on the Segway.
He's back. Thanksgiving appearance.
Guys, I humbly would like to admit how wrong I was on a quarterback in the NFL. Humbly would like to admit that. Now, I've mentioned this before. I said this at the end of last year, but I'm going to say it again now after he's officially been benched. Carson Wentz is no longer the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. They're winning games with Taylor Heineke. Look, let's call it like it is, right? Did I think Wentz got the best shake in the world? No. But let me tell you something very, very honest. When his knee injury happened, when his ACL injury happened, something mentally went wrong in his head. Because he was he literally Darren Sproles and a lot of the guys. Darren Sproles just spoke on it recently that he was like upset we were winning football games with Nick Foles and he had issues with it. The guy is a mental midget, man. Say what you want to say about him, what his talent was, and we can look at 2016 and 2017 all you want, but 2017 is 5 friggin' years ago. 5 years ago. And we've seen flashes in 2018 of he could be the guy again. But I mean, we're not kidding ourselves at this point? 2019 happened, 2020 happened, 2021 happened, 2022 happened. The guy's a mental midget that can't stay on a football field. I'm sorry, guys. I argued and defended this man passionately. He's a commander now. He's lost the starting job now for his 3rd straight team. He's relegated to being a backup quarterback wherever he goes. And maybe he can take some time and find some of that magic he had, get some confidence back in his knee. Maybe one day he pulls the Geno Smith card, right? You know, they wrote me off and I didn't write back. Maybe. But man, I think that Washington looks like a better football team. And it says something to me that 3 straight cities feel like their team plays better without Carson Wentz. In Philadelphia, they rally behind Nick Foles, now Jalen Hurts. In Indianapolis, they didn't care how his quarterback rating looked. They just got him out. We want him gone. Irsay's like, get him out of here. And in Washington, the 1-4 Commanders are now 5-5. Say what you want, but winning does not follow this man. Ever since that ACL injury, he's been an awful quarterback. That's what needs to get said. I'm sorry, but it needs to get said. And I apologize to all the listeners out there for all the times I defended the man. I was wrong. And I'll happily be wrong. But it's that's it. That's it for Carson Wentz as a starting quarterback. That's it.
Agreed. I mean, I think you hit that perfectly. I know how much you guys loved him. I was never fully on board with all the love that he was getting. I thought he was a good quarterback. Obviously, when he 2016, 2017, different story. But since we started this podcast, I've never been as high that you guys were. But I understood, though. You know, you saw firsthand what he could do. But I mean, it is time to face that reality with him. I mean, he's not the only one, but it's time to face that reality with him. And you know, with the Commanders, like I said earlier, you know, Taylor Heineke hasn't been playing great, but he also hasn't won the game yet. You know, that game against the Jaguars is the one that comes to mind where they 100% should have won that game, but you know, a red zone interception basically sealed the deal for him. So I think, you know, Taylor Heineke, while he may not be playing great,
they beat the Jaguars. You think I'm a different team?
What game? No, it was a game. They had a game late.
There was a game late. He played really.
He threw a pick in the red zone, and the game basically ended.
Oh, it's
they were going to come back.
That was
Titans
game.
Titans game. Then
he was having a great game.
Throwing a pick the 2 plays prior, like
he did, and then he threw one,
and then the third one he finally threw one. But 2 of them in a row, he tried throwing a pick.
So I think of games like that, and you know, Taylor Heineke's not doing that. And if you're not doing that and your team's in, then it says something that, you know, why you're not on the field anymore.
They win without him.
I also think that's part of it. I think he, unfortunately, has become a guy that, you know, that game that Kuchel just brought up, he had a great game up until then. Like, it's the reason they were in the game. He has a knack, unfortunately, for making the worst mistake at the worst time. And it's become a habit for him. And that is, again, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters in the NFL is if you're winning games or if you're not. And if you're not, and you're the highlight or the you know, the point that everybody remembers why you lost the game, that's not good for your NFL aspirations to be a starting quarterback.
That's happened so many times too, Bill. It happened.
I'm agreeing. That's what I'm saying.
It happened versus Tennessee where he played great the whole game and then made those 2 weirdo interceptions near the end of the game.
I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
That's
I'm talking
exactly my
about when he was in
point.
Indy. What about the game versus Carolina? Remember that game when the Eagles played 2018? I'll never forget that game, right? The Eagles are heavy favorite to beat Carolina. They're losing the whole game. They're winning the whole game. Carolina comes back from down 17-3 to take a 20-17 lead or 21-17 lead. And we're down 4. We need a touchdown. The first play, he throws a 50-yard pass down to the 25-yard line. You're like, all right, this is the comeback we've been asking for when 2018, the year after the ACL. And it was overthrown ball, and then overthrown ball. Game was over. They lost to Carolina, and Cam Newton beat us in 2018.
I think he's just a conundrum because, like everybody remembers the last game at Indy, and then you go back to like the game on Christmas Day when they went to Arizona missing like 9 starters on on sides of the ball. And he threw that pass in the back of the end zone, like through 3 people, like in like a 2-foot window for a touchdown to win the game.
Yeah.
And you see things like that when you're like, okay, like when the dude gets it, like he's got a great arm, like physically, like he has the tools to do it. It's just he shows enough glimpses. Exactly, he shows enough glimpses though to keep getting chances. And I think I don't think Tyler Heineke's a better quarterback than Carson Wentz, but I also think, like you said,
the second time y'all have called him Tyler. His name is Taylor.
Taylor.
I just hope y'all have done this. His name is Taylor Heineke.
Who cares?
I know he stinks. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's Taylor Heineke.
I called him Taylor.
No, you called him Tyler, and he called him Tyler. I ignored it the first time.
He's 4-1 as a starter, and then again, it's kind of like the Cooper Rush thing. Like, all right, like obviously the Cooper versus Dak disparity is way bigger, but we were like, how much longer do they keep starting Cooper if they keep winning football games? Yeah. Some teams just respond better or respond differently to better people. I think the thing with Indy, I still think that's an absolute goddamn mess.
Irsay's the mess. I agree with
Irsay, I mean, if you read between the lines there and you look at what people said, like I remember, like right when they released him, like Shaquille Leonard was on Twitter and was like, "What the hell are we doing?" Like, I don't know. I mean, and again, I think the problem is if you're going to talk about Carson Wentz in Indianapolis, the first thing that's going to come up is the horrible interception he threw in the Jacksonville game at the end of the year, and he has to own that. I mean, he did.
They got blown out that game.
They did. They got blown out.
Horrible interceptions.
But they were down at one point. They were down 8 with like 4 minutes to go, and he threw that interception.
Yeah, you're talking about in the comeback route on the outside.
Yeah. And then they went down and scored, and they won by 14 or whatever. But I mean, they were in striking distance at one point in that game.
That comeback route interception was terrible.
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful.
We got to move. We got to move. It's 8:15. We got to get into pick 'em. Let's get into pick 'em.
You're not gonna talk about the other quarterback that got benched.
Who?
Baker Mayfield.
Bro, Carolina is such a dumpster fire. He's been benched already this year for PJ Walker. Then he's benched now for Sam Darnold's coming back. Yo, can you imagine if you're starting quarterbacks on your roster are Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and PJ Walker? That's so bad, man. You add all 3 of their talent, put it all in a pot, and they still stink.
The craziest part about it is they got Matt Corral over there too, so they got to run. They got to keep 4 quarterbacks on their just in their active roster, so that
cut them all.
Not getting poached.
Cut them all. Let Matt Corral start next year and see if he's the guy. If he's not the guy, you draft a quarterback. Cut them all. Get rid of all of them. And you know what the messed up part is? They're going to hire a coach because they're not going to stick with the idiot that was in Arizona. I forget his name. That's their interim coach right now. Yeah, they're not going to keep Steve Wilkes. But whatever. Whoever the new coach wants, he might not want Matt Corral. He might want to try somebody else.
I get it, but I mean, you drafted the kid. Your season's over. Like, I mean, at this point, let the kid play and at least get a new freaking but at least get an idea of what you have. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, you would talk about how bad like Carson's career aspirations are. Baker Mayfield's are worse.
Facts.
My Lord.
I was moving to pick 'em, gentlemen. I've been almost caught. This is a problem. I might have to change my name. If Control beats me for the year, I think I got to change my name.
So, oh man, you got a 1-game lead.
Half a game.
Half game.
Half game lead. And it's because of the draw. It's because of the draw. I'm thanking my lucky stars for that draw.
With my astounding record, I'll go first.
Yep, you will.
All right, the first one I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna do some Turkey Day football, and I agree with Gene on this one. I think Dallas is starting to play their best football this season. To go in Minnesota and blow Minnesota out like that last year, to come home, play their annual Thanksgiving Day game that they get gifted every year somehow. Don't ask me why. I'm sure it has something to do with Jerry Jones giving money to somebody. But that being said, I think you're starting to see all the cracks in the Giants that we knew were there. They're getting bigger and bigger. I think Dallas blows out the Giants at home on Thanksgiving Day. So I will take Dallas -10. Second game I'm going to take the Bengals -2.5 at Tennessee. Might be a trap game. Looks like Jamar Chase is going to play. They're going to be at full strength. I think Cincinnati just, I think they just scored too much for Tennessee to keep up. The longer that game stays close, the more it favors Tennessee and be able to use their ground game with Derrick Henry. But I think that game's a close game going into the fourth quarter. I think maybe Cincinnati pulls away a little in the fourth, but I'll take them -2.5. And the other game I'm going to take the Jets -6. I'm surprised this spread will probably continue to grow by kickoff on Sunday with Justin Fields not playing. To put it bluntly, Justin Fields is their entire offense. He's in the Lamar Jackson numbers right now. He's throwing for over 200, running for 100+ every game. With him being out, I have no idea what that offense is going to look like. They're probably going to try to run the ball. Jets have a great defense. We already said that. I think Mike White comes in, looks sharp, gets enough scoring drives. I think the Jets cover easy at home. I'll take the Jets -6.
All right, some fun ones. I think I told Cottrell my rule, and I'm going back to my rule. But Cottrell, go ahead.
I was about to say, you about to go before me? What is this?
I thought you passed me already. I realized you didn't pass me, and I stopped.
All right.
I'm
Sounds good.
second when you passed me, bro. I'm so used to going third.
So my first game, I'm going head to head with Shally. My first game, I like the Giants to cover that 10 points. I told you guys earlier, I think that game will be somewhat close. I think it'd be a 1-possession game, and I think the Cowboys ultimately win it. But I think the Giants cover that 10. My second game was going to be the over 38.5 with the Bears at the Jets, but Justin Fields isn't playing, so we're getting that game out of here. Broncos -2.5 at the Panthers. I don't think Sam Darnold is going to score too many points. I know the Broncos have been struggling, but I think they win that game, 18-19 to 7 or 19-10. I think they cover the 2 points there. And I like the over 43.5 Rams at Chiefs. Look, I know the Rams have been struggling on offense. The Chiefs have it rolling right now on offense. I think the Chiefs can score 30+ in that one. And like I said, I know the Rams haven't been playing great, but I think they can score 2 touchdowns and hit that over 43.5. And I think that game goes way over. I think it's in the 50s. But those are my
I don't think either one of their starting quarterbacks are playing, bro. I think they're on third string quarterbacks. Stafford's been ruled out, and Wolford is got hurt this past week. They're going with a third string quarterback, which is why it's a 16-point spread.
Chiefs give up points to everybody. So
okay.
Cottrell was smart though. He's on the fade Shally wagon. He went against me his first 2 picks. That's a guaranteed 2 W's right there, Gene. So you need to go 3-0 this week.
Bro, I need to. But I'm going back to my old rule. What's my rule, Cottrell?
2.5 plus 2.5, you take them. -3.5, you take them.
That's correct. That's exactly where I'm going. All 3 of my picks. First one, give me the Patriots plus 2.5. Turkey Day night. I like the Patriots over Minnesota this week. I told you their defense looks great. My man Kyle Edwards in the chat right now. I know you're loving what you're seeing in New England. Every time this time of year, we're like, how does Bill Belichick do it? We thought they were terrible. Well, I got the Patriots plus 2.5 over the Vikings. Kirk Cousins in prime time. Need I say more? Next one. I told you last week to put some money on it. I'm going to tell you again. It's still plus 1,700. Put $100 on Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl. He's plus 1,700. I'll take Tampa -3.5 over the god-awful Cleveland Browns. And my final one. Look, ever since TJ Watt's been back, that Steelers team just looked different. Give me the Steelers plus 2.5 over Indy. Mike Tomlin versus Jeff Saturday. Need I say more? Mike Tomlin would outcoach that man, show him things that he's never seen before in his life. Jeff Saturday's a fraud. He shouldn't be an NFL coach. I don't care what they've done their first 2 weeks, 1-1. They beat a hapless Raiders team, and they gave up a 10-point lead versus the Eagles in the second half. So give me the Steelers plus 2.5 to rout the Colts in Indy.
I think it's wild if you would have asked me like 3 or 4 weeks ago if the Steelers had any chance to get back to 500. I would have told you no. And now it looks like Tomlin might do it again.
I mean,
if it looks better,
they're 3-7. So I mean,
yeah, no, but I agree with Gene on that game. I think they win this week. It's 4-7. They'll probably steal a couple more somewhere else. I mean, it's wild. But
Pickett looked better last week. Give me the Steelers, man. I like this. The Steelers are my best bet this week. I really believe that the Steelers rout them. I think their defense looks better. TJ Watt just makes that team so much better, man. And when you line up, that Colts defense is all in smoke and mirrors and effort right now. Jeff Saturday's a fraud. Cleveland is not winning Sunday. Tiny, stop it. Stop it. Tampa Town's going to handle them.
Bill talked about being 4-7. Browns be 4-7 after with Deshaun coming back. Maybe they could turn the season around. They win that game against the Bucks.
Didn't someone tell you they would be 4-7 when we looked at their first 11 games? You're like, no, they'll be.
I think 2 people told them that, and we were told we were both crazy.
I said 4-7 or 5-6. I said at best 5-6, at worst 4-7.
You had them. You had them lose to the Steelers. I just didn't see. They lost a couple games that I wasn't expecting them to lose, and like you guys had them losing to the Steelers, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But here we are.
Well, listen,
here we are.
I want to see what Deshaun Watson does the rest of the year, so you can prepare for next year. See if you have a franchise quarterback or not. That's basically what you're doing right now.
We better have one. $230 million down the drain.
All righty. NCAA basketball. I'm so hype about this. Guys, I talked to Control earlier about this. I'm so hype, man. So I want to get my final four, and this is all we're going to do is we're basically going to do a little bit of pregame because we got a whole Mount Rushmore bracket to go over, the World Cup. So we're not going to do too much. We're going to give our final fours a little reasoning why, a team to look out for, a player to look out for, or whatever, and they're a national champion. So we can get it on record before the season starts. Well, it started, but before we get into conference play, before Christmas. As long as you get it all before the Christmas break, it don't matter. It's just like we did it a month ago. So I want to start with our final fours, our final four predictions for NCAA basketball. Do you have a final four? I know, Shally. I know that Cottrell does. If not, we'll come to you third. I don't mind. But
I kind of have an idea. Just do me last.
Okay. Do you last. Nice. But
that's
I'll start with mine.
The week.
I'll start with mine. Before I tell you the ones that are on it, let me tell you who I left off. 2 teams I left off. One who I think could definitely make it there. And one who I know everyone that's listened to Wire to Wire the last 2 years expects me to have there. The one I left off that everyone expects me to have is the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They've broken my heart too many times. Drew Timme is just not enough. I don't think Gonzaga has the dogs or the horses this year. Losing Andrew Nebhard to the draft, I think they lost too much, and I don't think Drew Timme can do it by himself. I just don't. I think Gonzaga does not make the Final Four. I think that they'll be higher rated, higher seeded because of their conference play schedule. But all I needed to see was them play Michigan State, and I knew that this team was. And then Texas just boat raced them recently to know that this team is not a Final Four team.
How old is Drew Timme? Like 30?
28. I'm just kidding.
God damn.
Drew Timme and Adrian Martinez. They go to
for real.
They're friends.
Those two and Sean Clifford.
Super duper duper seniors.
Yeah.
They probably have a group text. 27 is still playing in college.
Another team I want you guys to look out for that I think could make the Final Four, and they're returning they're 5 of their top 7 scorers. They look great, and I think they're going to look better as the season goes on. And it's a very underrated team. No one has Creighton in their Final Four, but watch out for Creighton. The Creighton Blue Jays are going to be very good this year. Now for my Final Four.
Creighton's a top 4 seed this year.
100% top 4 seed. I think you could see them in the Final Four. 100%. All right, I'm gonna start with the big dog. Give me Kentucky. Oscar Shibwe. He's an absolute animal. He's going to be player of the year. I don't think there's anybody going to the points, rebounds. He passes the ball. The guy is NBA pro,
Defense.
and if defends, he does everything right. And Kentucky is going to get a lot of those super freshmen involved, and I think that Kentucky is a Final Four team. Look, when I look at Final Four teams, I look at teams that have good backcourts, veteran leadership in the point guard position, and I can't look further than UCLA. Listen, we got Jamie Jaquez, but Tiger Campbell, the veteran leadership, fifth-year senior, I think he will be the guy that leads that UCLA team to a Final Four march. Look, they were there a year too early. Shally's going to like this one. My third Final Four one's North Carolina. Armando Bacot, Caleb Love back. They got a transfer. It's unbelievable. I think North Carolina, UNC is in the Final Four.
Still got RJ Davis too.
And then the last one. I think this is I love the system. Scott Drew, one of the best coaches in the country, returns AJ Flagler, LJ Cryer, and Keontae George. That backcourt is unbelievable for Baylor. Baylor's backcourt, they're going to play great defense, that 3-2. They're going to attack the ball. They're going to get a lot of turnovers and steals. And another team to look out for that just left off my list was Houston. Houston looks really good. But keep in mind, Baylor was the national champion 2 years ago. They got so hurt last year, so many injuries. They're coming back strong this year. I think Baylor makes the Final Four. Now, I won't give my national championship winners yet. We'll get to that last. But just give me your Final Four, Cottrell.
I got you. The one team that has impressed me so far this year, and if you asked me before the year, I probably wouldn't have had them there. That'd be Michigan State. Michigan State has played these top teams tough already this season. Of course, every time a Tom Izzo-led team gets to the tournament, they got a shot just because he's going to put those guys in a position to be successful. And I think you've seen that already so far this season. They played a Kentucky team tough and to the brink. They played a Gonzaga team tough to the brink. And I think Tom Izzo is, he's going to have those guys ready to go. There's a reason why coming into the season they were unranked, and I think now they're all the way up to 12. So I think that Michigan State team is going to be a force the whole season, and they're going to be a team that's going to be in it when it's all said and done. Now, these other three that I have, I agree a lot with Gene so far. North Carolina, team that I love. Obviously, we talked about Bacot, talked about Davis, and of course, RJ's back. And the transfer, Pete Nance from Northwestern, I think he adds a great dynamic to that team. I think those guys are going to be special playing together. They've already kind of been to the top of the mountain. They just haven't gotten over that edge yet. And I think it's special because you talked about being senior led. These guys, their best player are all juniors and seniors. So they're not going to be too afraid of the moment or anything like that. So I think, North Carolina is going to be one of those teams that's ultimately there at the end. Kentucky. You mentioned a lot about Kentucky already. Obviously, Shibwe is incredible. Obi Toppin's little brother, Jacob Toppin, is there. He plays well with them. And they got one of the best freshmen in the country in Chris Livingston coming off their bench. I think once the season really gets rolling, he'll be ready to go, and you'll see him putting in a tremendous effort. And he's going to be a major part of that team, I think, come late February and into March. And then my last team, the Baylor Bears. Gene, you talked about their great guard play, everybody that's coming back, and stout their best defender that comes off their bench, and Dale Bonner. Dale Bonner's the backup guard, averages 2.5 steals a game, and he's a guy that can score as well. So I think this Baylor team is built exactly how you would think a Scott Drew team would be built. They have the guards that play well on offense, and they lock it down on defense. So I think, as the old adage goes, defense wins championships. So I think that Baylor team is going to be there come middle of April.
Okay. What's up, Ty Owens? How you feeling? Chris Romaro, appreciate the comments, brother. Keep them coming. Who's your Final Four, by the way? Joseph
All
Jeffers.
right.
I do think he'll be the first back-to-back Player of the Year award winner.
All right. My team to look out for is a team that you guys already both mentioned, which is Baylor. They're hanging right outside the top 4 now. Again, I think the biggest part of Baylor now is having consistency there, having a foundation. You have that with Scott Drew. They finally have a coach there that is there, that wants to build a program, continue to make them an annual powerhouse, not looking to go somewhere else. And that matters. That matters in college basketball. I mean, it's no different than, kids wanting to go to Kentucky, but you're going to Kentucky because you want to play for John Calipari, or, going to Duke and wanting to play for Coach K. Having that foundation there and Scott Drew running the same system, recruiting for his system, which is important as well. I think there's a shot Baylor makes the Final Four. Sneaky team. Again, it's really early, so I mean, most of us probably only seen these teams play once, maybe twice, depending on how much you're watching so far. But Baylor's good. Baylor's very good. So that would be my non-Final Four team that maybe makes a run and maybe sneaks in the Final Four at the end. My number one overall seed would be for the Final Four would be UNC. We already mentioned Baycott. Listen, bro. I mean, they're good this year. I don't know what to tell you. And that's more my sister than anything. I'm a Michigan fan. I just can't go on here and say anything nice about Duke, or I get stabbed at Thanksgiving tomorrow. But I mean, listen. Me and Gene value the same things when it comes to college basketball. There's not a better guard in the country than RJ Davis. Kid's a stud. Former North Carolina Player of the Year. They kept him home. Kid's been great. They have all the talent in the world. Cottrell already mentioned Nance. He transferred it from Northwestern. They have everything you need. They have everything you need to win a national championship. They have all the talent in the world. They have some depth this year. I'd be really shocked if they're not there in the Final Four. My second team, I'm surprised neither one of you guys mentioned them, to be honest. I watched it play the other night, and they're good. I'm going with the Texas Longhorns. Biggest reason why, same thing, guard play. Their best 2 players, Tyrese Hunter, Marcus Carr, are both guards. One's point guard, one's a shooting guard. They're both great. Marius White is the forward on the team that is good. They have a great little starting 5. I think if there's one thing that holds them back, it would be their depth. But very good team. They're a little bit long. They're athletic. They can shoot. I like Texas to make the Final Four. Third team I'm going to take. I'm going to take the team that Cottrell said to look out for. I'm going to take Michigan State. This strikes me as kind of, Tom Izzo kind of really hasn't had a national contender in a while. This team's kind of been under the radar actually for the last couple of years with some of the other teams that have come out of the Big Ten. I think this is the year Michigan State goes back to the top of the Big Ten. They play great defense. They're tough. I think Michigan State's there. Like Cottrell said, you can say what you want about him. Tom Izzo is a great coach. You get into March, the guy just wins games in different ways as well, and that's a hallmark of a great coach. And the fourth team I'm going to take, and this one's a gimme. If you heard his press conference the other day, I'm taking Kentucky and John Calipari. Usually, you have to wait till like the middle of the year to get the rant at the post-game press conference about how his team just isn't that good, and they're not ready, and maybe it's my fault, and it's this and it's that. He's the Nick Saban of college football. He undersells his team at any freaking given chance. He had one the other day, and it was for a Calipari rant. It was very optimistic, and it was early, and it was wasn't so much we stink or anything like this. It was like, we just kind of got to work on some things, and we'll be better and win some games. This is the fool's bet. He's given away how much he likes his team and how good he thinks they are and how good they already are.
Only thing you ever worry about Kentucky is they're all young kids. I mean, where you talk about Oscar Schwebe and how great he is, he's going to be playing with a bunch of 18-year-olds. So you never know how they're going to handle pressure in the big moment. But talent-wise, and I think Calipari, to some degree, I think gets shit on as a coach a little bit. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's just a good recruiter. I think he's a good coach too. So I think Kentucky's my fourth Final Four team.
Christopher O'Maro brought up a really good team. Arkansas, man.
Yeah.
They have 2 lottery picks in their backcourt. 2 guys that could go in the top 10 next year. They got Anthony Black and Nick Smith Jr., who hasn't played yet because he has an injury. But they're definitely a team to watch out for. They have 2 lottery picks that you'll hear both those names in the NBA.
Bill, I think to your point about Kentucky, Bill, I think the one that's different about this team is that Kentucky hasn't produced those top guys. Oscar Tshiebwe is that top guy, but he's a senior and got a lot of old heads essentially on their team that's playing for him. Guys that have been around for a little bit. I think they only got 2 freshmen right now that's been truly in the rotation, and that's been Cason Wallace and Chris Livingston. But outside of those guys, they got guys that have been there, been around the block a little bit. So I think that'll make this Kentucky team different than those years when we see them with their, top freshman class leading them all the way.
Case Wallace is that kid can shoot the lights out. He is going to be a next level player. He's a one and done guy. He will not be there next year. He will be a top 10 pick too. That kid's nice. He's nice. So being able to get that, oh man, I'm just I'm looking forward to a great college basketball season. Let's give our national championship winner. Bill, you want to start with UNC?
Sure. So my championship game, I have UNC versus Kentucky. I think Kentucky's going to have the best player on the court. I think North Carolina's depth is going to be a little too much. I'll go North Carolina as being a national champion.
Cottrell, who you got?
I'm also going with North Carolina. I think they're the best team in the country.
Y'all,
they're too deep.
On my legs again.
I mean, I think this is a situation. I wasn't too confident last year in any team, but this year I'm not there yet. It's still early. We haven't even hit December yet, but as early as it is, I'm almost as confident in them as I was in Baylor 2 years ago. Like that C team is special until I see them slip up somewhere. And depending on how they do it as well. But I think if all things go well for them, injuries, they stay healthy, all that, I think they pull it off this year.
What's up, Con Man? How you feeling? Con Man, who's on the M1 podcast Friday night. Man, that guy knows NBA back to the 70s, 80s. He was 12 years old. Michael Canseco. I'm saying his name wrong, so I call him the Con Man. But he was 12 years old. He went to the library and was reading about Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. Like, who was better? I remember that story. I was just talking to him recently. He played against Dr. J in high school. So, man, what's up, Kyle, man? Appreciate you checking in. But what's up, Billy Brancato, also on the just hopped on Facebook. How you feeling? But let me get my national championship. I don't have North Carolina in my finals because I think Baylor is going to smother them in the Final Four. I have Kentucky versus Baylor, and I have Kentucky beating Baylor in the national championship. First of all, North Carolina is great. I have them in my Final Four. I'm not like downplaying North Carolina, but I think the way they get beat is with that hard pressed 3-2 zone that Baylor plays that really gets after the ball. And I think it comes a slugfest. And I think any one of these 4 teams could win. And you can add Houston, you can add Creighton, you can add Texas, which I love that you added them because Texas is a very good team. You can add Kansas, who's a good team. There's a lot of really good teams in college basketball this year, but I really only think there's 6 that can win it. And I think that there's 3 that separate themselves from everyone. And that's Baylor, North Carolina, and Kentucky, who's my eventual winner. I'll take Kentucky. Let's move on. We got Mount Rushmore, baby.
Cottrell, who did you have in the finals?
Oh, I didn't say. North Carolina against Kentucky.
All right, so we all have Kentucky there. Geniuses have North Carolina.
I think with Carolina having the 2 bigs in Baycott and Nance, obviously guard play is important. But when you got two bigs that can score plus 2 guards that can score, I think it's just going to be too much.
Yeah, I hear you. I think North Carolina is going to be one of the 1 seeds. I agree with you. All right, we got some Mount Rushmores, and I can't wait. This is the bracket, man. Ladies and gentlemen, it's seated. It looks great. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, Mount Rushmore. Which city has the greatest Mount Rushmore, city/state for some of them? Wisconsin. Hey, we got New York 1, LA 1, LA 2. Our 1 and 2 seeds on each side. Boston, New York 1, San Francisco, who, by the way, San Francisco is loaded. And then LA 2. Man, Tigers, Serena, Mike Trout. But today we're just going to do this left side of the bracket, the east side. Tennessee has drawn a very tough matchup going against the overall number 1 seed in the entire tournament, Boston. Here it is. And, you know, I love Tennessee's Mount Rushmore. I love it. Love it. Pat Summit, Steve McNair, Candace, Ace Parker, Peke Rene. I love it. But, man, Tom Brady, Ted Williams, Larry Bird, and Bobby Orr. Jesus. That's going to be a tough out. I think this is a first-round knockout, 4-0 sweep, and if we're doing the play-in game, it's just 2-0. Night for Tennessee. I love Tennessee. I really do. But Boston in a landslide here. I hate giving Boston any credit, but the truth is their Mount Rushmore has some absolutely outstanding athletes.
Yeah, you hit everything on the head. I feel like don't got to go too deep in this one. Boston might win the whole thing. You know, Tennessee, it's great they made it here, Sweet 16. You know, that's no slight to them, but Boston is just loaded.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started this, you know, we were kind of joking around, and we were just kind of like, you know, Boston was one of the first cities we started brainstorming against, and you know, we came out with who it was probably going to be, and we were like, damn, like Boston could win the whole thing, and it's the truth. I mean, you're across the board there, just elite level greatness in all four people. So Tennessee's great. There's some feel good stories there. Obviously with Pat Summit, Steve McNair, but I mean they just don't compare to Boston. It's Boston, and it's not relatively close.
Where would you have seeded Boston 2? Like all the guys that didn't make it, the Bill Russells, David Ortiz. Like where would you have seeded Boston 2? Because man,
they would have been ahead of Tennessee.
Like
True.
that's what I'm saying. Like if you could give any athlete that ever lived in Tennessee, drove through Tennessee, hung out at a bar in Tennessee, and they wouldn't have a chance versus Boston list.
Who were
I don't
Tennessee
care who
was
you
on
put
the
on.
map.
What? Yeah. I seen it once.
Tennessee was on the map.
That is an outstanding list. Boston moves on. This is the easy one. Let's go to the next one. Oh, man. This is a tough one. Guys, we're going to park here for a minute for the 4-5 matchup. While Chicago is very top-heavy, Michael Jordan and Walter Payton starting a list there is just whoo. Philadelphia is very, and you know what I like about Philadelphia's list? All of them are elite superstars. All 4 of Philadelphia's Mount Rushmore is better than anyone on Chicago's that's not Michael Jordan, Walter Payton. It's the truth. It's the truth. Say what you want about what it comes down to is does Michael Jordan get them over Philadelphia? Well, Michael's 1 on most people's list for greatest basketball player of all time. I have Wilt 3. So it's a little bit of step back. Mike Schmidt over Ernie Banks. I'm going to take that to the bank. That's a little bit more than 2 steps. You go a little further. You got Reggie White or Walter Payton, one of the greatest running backs ever, one of the greatest defensive players ever. How do you rate that? Reggie White's 1 or 2. Walter Payton's 1 or 2 at running back. But the difference is Reggie White is 1 or 2, all defensive players. and Walter Payton's only 1 or 2 running backs. So that's the argument right there. Then
I will say though, if we're keeping it even, 1 or 2 defensive players, yes, but it would also be 1 or 2 defensive linemen because I mean, 2 people you think about would be LT and Deion Sanders, right?
I think that Reggie White would be better than Deion Sanders.
I mean, I don't disagree,
The greatest
but I'm
defensive
just saying.
player of all time.
Yeah, I think that those are 3 you have in that argument.
Correct. Now, if you said the offensive players in all football, it would be Tom Brady, Barry Sanders, Jerry Rice. Walter Payton would be up there, top 5, top 10. Listen, I'm a homer on this one, but I'm not too much of a homer because honestly, I would almost rather Philadelphia lose this week because I know what's going to happen next round, and I don't want to lose to Boston again. I'm tired of losing to Boston. But if I'm being objective, Bobby Clark, Will Chamberlain, Mike Schmidt, Reggie White. I'm going Philly on this one.
I'm also going Philly. I think what they have as a whole, I think they're a little bit more well-rounded than what Chicago is. And Gene, you talk about, the greatness of Michael Jordan and the greatness of Walter Payton. I feel like I've been kind of consistent with this. I'm more about the greatness of the entire Mount Rushmore, not just
so you have the
the
whole
guy
thing
right at the top. So I give me the whole thing, and I think Philly's Mount Rushmore is better than what Chicago's is.
So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know what Cottrell was going to do, so I thought this might come down to me. But I'm going with Philly as well. I think the overall average of greatness is a little bit better on the Philly side versus the Chicago side. Obviously, you have Michael Jordan, but I think Gene brought up a good point. I think that the step from Jordan back to Wilt isn't huge by any means. I think it's definitive, but not huge. And then again, I think the gap between Reggie and Walter Payton is sizable. I think Bobby Hull's probably a better hockey player than Clark. But then Mike Schmidt is, definitely better than Ernie Banks. So I think that across the board, I think Philly on average is just a little bit better.
All right, Philly moves on. In the Elite Eight. We're dancing in the Elite Eight. That's as far as we're going. But we're in the Elite Eight.
Hey, you advance in the dance, you still got a chance. So never know.
I will tell you this right now. This is a bloodbath of a matchup. Giannis, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Hank Aaron. It's a solid 4, man. You got 2 top 10 quarterbacks of all time. The Greek Freak and Hank Aaron. The real home run champion. Versus a very, very formidable opponent. Ray Lewis, the greatest middle linebacker of all time. One of the greatest Olympians of all time. Michael Phelps. Cal Ripken Jr. Whew, this list is solid. Where are you going here? I'm going to go third. I really want to be the deciding factor. Maybe I'm not. Christopher Morrow says not even close. What's not close? I want to know. Who do you got?
I think it's interesting. I'm voting. We got our first upset here, man. Give me the 6 over the 3. I'm taking Wisconsin in this one. I think Wisconsin has just a little bit more grace overall. You know how I feel about Michael Phelps and how great he is, but I think if you compare everything, all things equal, I think Wisconsin got a little bit more greatness on their side.
Well, Johnny Unitas is a top 10 quarterback of all time. So he would debatably be in there with Favre and Rodgers. So you have Favre, Rodgers. He might be the sandwich between Favre and Rodgers. He might be better than both of them. That could be an argument you can make Johnny Unitas over both of them. Now, as far as baseball goes, there's no baseball player that's going to surpass Hank Aaron from Baltimore. Cal Ripken's not going to catch up to Hank Aaron. That's not close, right? That's not close. I love Cal Ripken, but Michael Phelps' greatness, how far does it propel them? And I'm going to learn a lot about this matchup. I'm going to learn a lot of where you guys are going based off this matchup because you got Serena, you got Tiger in LA too. Where does Michael Phelps rank?
The thing is that though, like I said last matchup with Chicago.
You got the go to goats. Remember, you guys voted him the go to goats.
Chicago and Philly. Correct. Like I said with Chicago and Philly, I'm going to focus this on who I think, which city or in this state is more well-rounded. And I think that's Wisconsin here.
I'm going I'll go second. I'll put it on Bill. I'm going Baltimore because I feel like Baltimore is more well-rounded. Cal Ripken's the weak link of that 4. And Cal Ripken's not weak link. I'm talking about Iron Man. He's the weak link of that 4. I don't think this is not close. I'm going Baltimore. You got the greatest Olympian ever in Michael Phelps. Remember? The greatest middle linebacker in NFL history in Ray Lewis. You got a top 10 quarterback of all time, and you got Iron Man. I'm going Baltimore here. I'm going Baltimore. I'll send Wisconsin packing early.
So I think this is kind of like on a lesser degree, but kind of the same comparison to what we just had with Philly and Chicago. I think, to Gene's earlier point, I think Hank Aaron is the best player on either one of these lists. But for me, it's not enough. I'm on record before even like the recent stuff. I think Brett Favre's overrated. I've always said that. And to Gene's point, I think if you're ranking all 3 quarterbacks, I absolutely think Unitas is better than Brett Favre. If you want to argue Aaron Rodgers, you know, for whatever I think of him personally, his numbers speak for themselves.
Aaron Rodgers and Johnny Unitas are the same player. It sounds really funny, but like errors combined, you're talking about underachieving quarterback that didn't win as much as they should have, that was superior arm talent. Like, they're almost the same quarterback.
This list is the only thing that's tricky about this list for me is Giannis, because I think if we revisited this 15 years from now, like when he's done, I think this could be a lot different. Because I mean, you know, he doesn't play here, but I think collectively the 3 of us all think the world of him. And he's a great kid and a great player. So I think his accolades are going to continue to accumulate in the next decade. So he absolutely has the ability to tilt this if we revisit it a decade from now. But as we sit here right now, I agree with Gene. I don't think it's relatively that close. You factor in Michael Phelps' greatness. I think I think it's Baltimore. I think it's fairly easy. I mean, even when you factor in like the douchebaggery of Ray Lewis, it's you still have Brett Favre on the other side. So I mean, it's
Brett Favre's an awful person. Like, if you didn't know how bad of a person Brett Favre was, like, I think you now know. Like, just
Murder?
I get it. Honestly, I get it. I mean, Ray Lewis killed a guy, but I get it. I'm not sticking up for Brett Favre.
Steal $2 million from welfare.
Well, see, we're not getting that debate. We're not getting that debate. My vote's
The guy
for
Ray Lewis
Baltimore.
killed, was he a good guy? I'm kidding. I'm done.
Jesus. All right, Tucker Carlson, relax.
All right. Next one. We got Baltimore moving on. So and this is going to be easy, guys. I'm sorry, and I'm actually not sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Screw Atlanta, right? You got prime time, Chipper, Larry, Greg Maddux, and the human highlight film, which is great for Atlanta. It's very cute. It's cutesy. You got Murderer's Row over on the left side. Like, and Lawrence Taylor.
Let's not dwell on this longer than we have to. I don't think
It's New York in a landslide, boys.
My question,
bro, sweep.
My question for Cotrella is: could you have found a different picture for Greg Maddux to make him look less like child molester? Like,
I was thinking the same thing with Lawrence Taylor.
That almost doesn't look like Lawrence Taylor.
I don't even know it is Lawrence Taylor.
It might not.
That's young. Lawrence Taylor. That's young Lawrence Taylor, man.
He looks more like Aaron Donald than he does Lawrence Taylor.
Looks like Shaft.
I'm looking it up. If that's not Lawrence Taylor, we're gonna be in trouble.
Oh yeah,
that's Lawrence
Taylor.
But
the Greg Maddux picture looks like a dude who drives around a white van with no windows, like, and tries to hand out candy like in the middle of July. Like, it's like,
maybe he
my
does.
Lord.
You know,
hey, maybe. Hey, fun
maybe
fact:
like,
throw
Ethan Hawke in the black phone. You know,
to throw
black
more
balloons
dirt
and whatnot.
To more dirt on the old Atlanta grave here, because like Gene said, F Atlanta, who cares? So a kid I went to high school with went to Stetson, which is right around the corner from where the Braves used to have spring training. And Larry was seen quite a bit sneaking into girls' dorms during spring training. And it was the funny part was the one all girls dorm was right near the baseball stadium at Stetson, and they kind of like Gene was doing earlier with chatting Larry. Every time they would see him come out like a weird time, they'd all be on the field and start chanting Larry, and he'd run to the parking lot, run to his car. So Chipper Jones was not a faithful husband for sure during his early years in Atlanta.
Bro, I don't know if I don't. Can you imagine I'm just foreshadowing, but can you imagine the Final Four of New York and Boston, man? That is so tough when you look at it, man, because it's like, what do you value at that point, right? Because like, oh my God, that 1 and 2 is going to be brutal. I say, and this is just my opinion, we let all the fans, all the listeners, all the chats pick the Final Four. Let them pick the winners. We'll talk about
the
it
Final
afterwards.
Four,
including
our
votes.
Final Four. What?
Including our votes.
Yeah, including our votes.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
sounds good.
Whew,
Sounds
what a
good
bracket,
to me.
man! What a bracket! What a bracket! I can't wait. Next week we'll do the West. Oh man, that's hype. All right, guys. I'm gonna go use the bathroom. And you guys talk about the ping pong balls that bounce around on the grass for a little bit.
Gene's such a hater.
He is.
I'm kidding, bro.
I mean,
I was so hyped to watch the United States play in a World Cup, and then it was over. It's all over. They're done.
Not over? Oh, no, it's
Over.
not.
not.
Wales
it's
has
not over.
eliminated them. They're done. They're done.
No, how is Wales eliminated them?
They're just done because they're going to get destroyed by England tomorrow or Friday, and after they get
You
destroyed
do
by England,
realize England also is going to play Wales, and then we're
and it'll
going
be a
to
closer
probably
game because they
try
know
to go
each
put
other.
up. We'll try to go put up seven
On
goals on Iran, just to make sure
Damn
we make up
terrorists.
the point differential.
We are not getting 7 goals on Iran. I'll tell you, don't be surprised if Iran beats us.
Oh,
Don't be
my
surprised.
goodness.
Don't be surprised.
I think.
Bro,
I
what
think
is this like?
you're putting. You're
what is
putting way
this?
too much stock in the final box score of U.S. Wales game. That game was very much in the U.S. hands. They had a lot of things that did not go
U.S.
their way.
dominated for the first 70 minutes of that game.
I mean, you had a questionable out of bounds call.
substitutions, very questionable substitutions, very
Agreed,
questionable defensive. Like that was the dumbest penalty ever. And I'm
It
not
was.
even a soccer fan. I know it
It was
was
bad.
The
It was
penalty
bad,
was
for sure.
terrible.
But
It was awful.
what led up to it was almost just as bad, though. You know, the out of bounds call that essentially led to that play happening in the box that led to that PK. I mean, that was just as bad of a call. I mean, you got the yellow cards they were giving out early on in that game. Obviously, those didn't have an impact on the game, but there was a lot of reffing in that game that I fully didn't agree with. But I think you're putting way too much in the England look. I know they beat Iran 6-2. They're not going to beat us like that. You know, even if we lose that game, if we keep that close and we put up a sizable amount on Iran, the U.S. is in great. I think England's going to beat Wales. I think they look that good against us. So I think against Wales, they'll beat them as well. So it'll come down to goal differential. And I think with us having Iran as our last game, I think we'll be in good shape.
okay.
I think in one aspect, we already kind of caught a break. Harry Kane's not going to play Friday. So their number one striker is not going to play against us. His ankle has been messed up. He played the first game, tweaked it a little bit. They're going to sit him. So, I mean, that's one break for us. Listen, we somehow steal a point against England, great. If not, we lose like a 2-1 game or something like that, we're fine.
Fine.
Beat Iran. You see where the cards lie. I think the only, I would rather, if I had to switch the schedule, I would play Iran next if we could and get those 3 points and then put all the pressure on, Wales at the end. But, it's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But it's the whole panic over everything is a little ridiculous. Now we go out and lose.
Iran over Wales. You have to.
And I'll tell you right now, dude, Iran is more than capable of winning that game. Wales,
people beating us too, bro.
they're not going to beat us, bro.
I hope you're right. I want to see American soccer for as long as I can.
The thing is, I think we potentially may have gotten a draw of the century with Argentina losing that first game. If Argentina is the second team to come out of and we get to go up against a team that's not Argentina, and I'm thinking way too far ahead here. But in that last game,
Yeah.
the game of 8 going to the Final Four, if we don't have to face Argentina there, I mean, that you couldn't ask for any better of a draw. So I like where the USA is at right now. Obviously, I'd like to win, but I like where we are right now.
We got a point. I think if that game's 0-0 the whole game and you dominate it for that long, and then you lose on a PK, you lose that game 1-0, then I think it's a little bit time for panic time. I agree, but I would say Argentina's in way worse shape than we are, and Germany is definitely in worse shape than we are. So, Germany, you want to talk about a must-win game? Germany does not get a point from that Spain game on Sunday. They're done. Because Japan's a tough little team. Japan already stole 3 points from them. Japan is going to beat Costa Rica. That puts Japan at 6 points already. So they can't. If they beat Costa Rica, they can't finish any worse than second in that group. I mean, it's very, very, very plausible that Germany doesn't advance to the knockout round of the World Cup, and there's a lot of people that had them. I saw people that had them in the finals. I saw a couple.
Can't 3 teams finish with 6 points?
Nope.
Why not?
Can they?
Yeah, because Germany could beat Spain, and Spain could beat Japan, and
but if Japan and Germany both have 6, it would go head to head, and Japan would go.
No, it goes to goal differential.
Not if 2 of them are tied with the same thing.
Yeah, well, they're not going to be tied.
Well, they would all have to have 6.
Spain scored 7 goals on Costa Rica.
Yeah, Japan's going to beat Costa Rica. That would give Japan 6 points already.
I know, but my point being is the goal differential for Japan goes to Costa Rica, and Japan and there's only 1 goal difference between Japan and Germany. I still think Spain and Germany can come out of that. I really do.
They can absolutely, but
a lot needs to happen. Germany's in a lot of trouble. Germany, if Germany could beat Spain, then it's a whole different ball game. If Germany only gets a tie out of that, the most they could finish with is 4 points, and then they would need either Spain or Japan to lose. That'll get into.
Is that my big upset where I said Costa Rica would make it, even though it's not Costa Rica, but it would be Japan, right? I wouldn't be far off. I said Germany wasn't going to make it.
Well, Japan
that
and
was
Costa
the team
Rica
I said would make it.
Are miles apart in talent-wise, but yes, that is.
No, I understand, but I called Germany not making it, and they might not make it.
I guess if you can hold on to that,
like you would get like a half a point for that one, maybe.
I'll take the half. I'll take that any half I can get. I'll take it. Costa Rica's terrible. I was wrong about Costa Rica. You said it on the show.
Costa Rica's like one of the worst teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
I was doing good up until that point. I have zero idea. I won't tell you. I just
Germany is like, I'm trying to think. Germany is like Clemson in the college football playoffs right now. They need a lot of things to go in their favor to advance. A lot.
Oh, you got to control their first. They got to win. They got to win 2 games.
They do, and they play Spain next.
Okay, what else? Reina must play Friday. I agree with Joseph Jeffers. What is that about?
He didn't start, he didn't sub. It was one of the controversial I would say lineup decisions. I think with the yellow cards in the first game, I think you're going to see a lot of rotation of the squad anyway. Reina's going to play. Reina's going to play Friday. I don't think there's any way he doesn't play Friday.
Do you think that 1-0 lead hurt them?
No.
Hurt them how?
Because they played a lot more defensive and stopped attacking. The substitutions were more for defending than they were for scoring.
Well, I mean that's normal substitution. So in regards to that, it wasn't the problem. The problem was I don't think we changed our formation enough time to where we got in trouble. What Wales did, Wales was trying to build the whole game, and we defended very well. They couldn't build and just slowly, methodically move the ball up the field. So what happened was we stayed in the 4-3-3. What that does is it allows team to play more direct, which is what Wales started to do. Started kicking longer through balls, stuff like that, and we just got caught and created that huge penalty. It's a little bit on Burkhalter for not changing the formation or at least changing the shape a little bit. Wales just had to start going direct, though, because what they wanted to do wasn't working. We kept shutting them down.
To Cottrell's point, if you look at the stats through 70 minutes of that game, every single goddamn one was in the U.S. favor, and it was in the U.S.'s favor significantly. They dominated, man. It's heartbreaking to lose 2 points when you dominate a game for 75% of it. And
yep.
I mean, that's what happened, but that's part of soccer.
Okay. What else you guys want to talk about? Ping pong.
Nothing yet, man. That's all I had to get off my chest.
I mean, we talk about Messi just blowing it on a national stage yet again.
Yeah, he scored, but yeah,
bro, stop.
Bro.
That's so.
Bro, don't argue. You're not a soccer guy. This is the argument for you.
I know
the dude's never won anything on a national stage with
in
loaded
soccer,
teams.
The guy doesn't matter. The one guy doesn't matter.
Why does one guy matter in every sport but not soccer?
Because he just scores. He doesn't play defense for them, and he scored.
It isn't. It's just, dude. It's the way Argentina plays, bro.
I was gonna say I somewhat disagree with that because we kind of saw it last World Cup. Kylian Mbappe showed that he was gonna will his team victory. Every game went out there, and you see it with other teams too as well. So I'm not putting all the blame on him, but when you're the best player on the odds-on favorites to win the cup and you lose to Saudi Arabia, you got to get some blame. I'm not saying it's all on him, and you got to give it to him.
I don't understand how, you take an offensive player that scored a goal. He plays no defense. None of the top strikers play defense. None of them do. I watched. They don't even run back. Ronaldo doesn't play defense. Messi don't play defense.
Ronaldo does, and Mbappe. You get late in the game, you'll see those guys in their own 18, and Messi will be hanging around the half circle. It's 100% true, bro. This isn't a narrative that came out of nowhere. This narrative's come out of the last 15 years of that dude being lazy and not winning squat on a national stage. This isn't an overnight narrative, dude. It's not. And granted, yeah, he scored. He scored the other day. There's games where they've had big games, dude, and he's invisible. And
that's really been the biggest knock on him. He'll score early on, group stage, things like that, and then once your single elimination, nowhere to be found.
You want to know why Mbappe is a household name now? It's because last World Cup, kid came out of nowhere and, like Cottrell said, literally carried his team. Portugal got to the final that year, dude, with Ronaldo and a bunch of nobodies. Even most casual fans couldn't name you another starter on Portugal's team besides Ronaldo. Those guys literally have a different will to win. They just do. Messi doesn't. Sorry. I think he's a great technical player. I'll never take anything away from him. You give me Ronaldo and somebody else and a choice of Messi, I'm never taking Messi. Nah.
Oh, well, I think the best player in the country in the world right now is Neymar. So
I wouldn't argue that with you either. Messi and Ronaldo are both older. But Neymar will have a World Cup before Messi does.
I can agree to that.
Let's move on. You got to be kidding me then. Cottrell? I wish I could play a video, bro. Is there any way I could play a video?
If you get it to me next week, yeah.
I want to play the video. It's my fault for being an idiot. I should have gave it to you. I got you. Go ahead, Cottrell.
It's right. So, of course, I got to take my shot at Michigan this week. Arizona State was up 27 points in a college basketball game earlier, last week. And Michigan, they get the ball, they dribble it up court, try to run the clock out. Michigan decides to steal the ball. It's about 10 seconds left, nothing. Game's clearly out of hand. They're trying to end it. Michigan steals the ball, go down, try to score. And you can visibly see Juwan Howard, he's trying to call the dogs off, but at the same time, he's like, good job, I feel it, whatever. But for me, just too much Juwan Howard, just an etiquette with him. Last year, he punched a guy in the face. This year, you got your guys, still fighting. Any other game, in college basketball, game's over. You let them dribble out the clock. You shake hands, go to the locker room. That's it. But Michigan, not there. Juwan Howard, come on. You got to be kidding me.
Talk about a reach. Good Lord.
Somebody going to use the World Cup?
I'm not, no.
Oh, Qatar, the whole situation there, but good.
Oh, it's awful. I mean, is that what you're doing?
No, you know what I'm doing.
I do know what you're doing. If it's not that, I'd be shocked. So for me this week, I'm going to stay in the Big Ten, however. It's not going to be an Ohio State thing, though. It's going to be a Michigan State thing. So, follow college football this year. Say Michigan State's had a terrible year, kind of an understatement. Lackluster results on field. You have the incident at Michigan in the tunnel where 7 students got charged criminally today, one with a felony, aggravated assault charge for hitting somebody with a helmet. And then the report came out today that Mel Tucker got a bonus for $100,000 that he was supposed to disperse amongst his coaches, and he decided to keep it for himself. The reason I bring this up is did some research today. I know Harbaugh's last year, he got a $2 million bonus between winning the Big Ten championship and making the college football playoff. Not to be a homer, but he literally took that $2 million bonus and dispersed it to all the people in the athletic department that worked less hours and lost money due to COVID. But then I dug a little deeper. So last year, James Franklin, $500K bonus, gave some to his coaching staff, also gave some back to the athletic department. Didn't keep a cent of it. I'll go one further. That was documented and was disclosed. Ryan Day got a $1 million bonus last year. Dispersed it all to his coaching staff. Didn't keep a penny of it. 3 coaches that are way more accomplished than Mel Tucker. And for the record, make less money than Mel Tucker does every year. I think it's just a crazy, just disgraceful, disrespectful move on Mel Tucker's part. You're making $9 million. Nobody in your coaching staff makes over $100,000. You don't need $100,000. You've had a rough year, a real rough year as the head of a big program. You probably should have took the high road here and done the right thing and gave your coaches and coordinators a bonus for the holidays. So for being a selfish jerk off this week, Mel Tucker.
Come on, you got to be kidding me. You guys know what mine is, right? You guys understand exactly where I'm going here, right?
I'm sure I do. It's been used I think 15 times already.
Last night it 100% deserves it. And I'm very upset that neither one of you guys used it because it was absolutely disgraceful. Last night, Ben Simmons made his triumphant return to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. It wasn't advertised. Not a lot of people knew about it until last night. The crowd, I could use who's that dumb announcer that used to coach for the Magic? Stan Van Gundy. I could use him for saying the Philadelphia fans weren't hostile enough for that he expected, and the boos weren't loud enough for Ben Simmons. We do a good thing and we just actively boo and don't throw anything and don't go into court. Don't do anything that I would have wanted to do. Hand out Mr. Softy shirts with Ben Simmons' picture on it. And that's basically it. He got a round of boos. Ben Simmons finally played in Philadelphia after not being here, sitting out last year and, injuries and mental, and finally played in Philadelphia. And he hit 2 free throws and then did the Jordan shrug. Are you serious? You hit 2 free throws in an NBA game and then did the Jordan shrug. Then he blew a layup, got his own rebound and put the layup in, and then shushed the crowd. Ben, listen, Stan Van Gundy said he was very disappointed in how the Philadelphia fans react. Well, Ben Simmons should be used to disappointing Philadelphia fans. Ben Simmons came back last night and had 11 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, almost had a triple-double. But guess what happened in the fourth quarter? 0 for 0, 0 assists, 0 shots taken. Guess what? Disappearing act again. They did if you watched that game last night, they did everything in their power to get Ben Simmons assists and points. The opening tip, they threw him an alley-oop that got stolen. Ben Simmons, you're a bum. You're a scrub. You're a mental midget. And I've never hated a player more. And for doing the Jordan shrug after making 2 free throws, come on. You got to be kidding me. Am I wrong? Did you not think there was something wrong with him doing the Jordan shrug after making 2 free throws?
I think think 99% of the league could have done that, and you wouldn't have used it this week. That's all I'll say.
99% of the league wouldn't do just the Jordan shrug after making 2 free throws.
What if they did? You wouldn't.
Guys averaging a triple single. Shut up. Sit on the bench.
I just love
You hate him.
Gene's consistent hate for Ben Simmons. It's what fuels the show.
6-6 for your max player, you scrub.
All right.
I consistently hate him. I will always consistently hate him. I will never hate an athlete more than I hate Ben Simmons.
Gene, everybody knows that.
I'm just saying, I'll say it again. I'm so mad that I didn't know that he was going to play last night because I would have drove my ass down to the Wells Fargo Center and got thrown out of the game. And then you would talk about me today as being the lone Philadelphia idiot, yelling and screaming and wouldn't sit down. I'd have
had to
bought
get
that
Shally to
Mr.
bail you
Softee
out.
shirt. Well, I don't care. I would have gladly took the ejection. Good show, gentlemen. Any final thoughts outside the happy Thanksgiving, which we're about to give?
No, I'll get mine in. I'll get mine. I was gonna say I'll get mine in now. Obviously, appreciate all you guys tuning in, watching us every week. Hope you and your families have a great Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of good food. Watch some hopefully good football. And we talk about. I'm sure everyone's gonna talk about what they're thankful for. I'm thankful that we still got the podcast going after 2 years. We've hit a lot of speed bumps and bumps in the road, but we found a way to keep it rolling. So I'm glad we're still here doing it, and of course, hope you guys eat some good food tomorrow as well.
Well, this is my favorite brand of the podcast. The one with you running the 1s and 2s, with us hopping on here, staying as long as we friggin' want, not having to worry about anything else. Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you something right now. This is my favorite brand of the podcast. And guess what? It's showing, gentlemen, because this month we eclipsed our highest month in downloads ever through Libsyn. That's downloads. That's not listens. That's down. People are downloading the show to their phone and listening to it, downloading the show on different platforms, especially Apple Podcasts. They're unique downloads too, so they're done from individuals, different devices, different phones, different people. So this isn't no paid for advertising and bullshit. Thank you for everybody that's downloading our show, listening to it. Wire to Wire will continue to grow. 111 straight Wednesday nights. Bill, I hope you feel better, man. But thank you so much to you guys out there, to my 2 co-hosts, the people that I love doing the show with each week, having these sports talks and debates with. I'm so thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for the listeners. I'm thankful for the Sports Empire Network family. Just got a promo with SeatGeek. We'll have the video for next week so we can play it. $20 off your first purchase. Just use the SCN for Sports Empire Network. Bill, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I got 2. I first got to give a huge shout out to Liz and my buddy Javier. Called in an emergency prescription for me. I'm a lot sicker than I'm letting on right now. I promise you that. If you would have saw me Monday, you would have said there was no way I was doing the show today. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors right now. So I appreciate the help from both of them to get me able to do this for the last 2 hours. And then, after that, I mean, you kind of touched on it, like anything else, like I've said, Thanksgivings before, just be grateful for everybody around you, everybody that's in your life, everybody that you love, everybody that you call a friend. Be thankful and count all your blessings. Always have an open perspective, open heart. I have so much to be thankful for. I could sit on here forever, but between, Liz, my family, our little super fan, JD, that loves all of us, all my friends, both new and old, most, certainly not least, you 2 guys, 2 great co-hosts, 2 people I get to call friends and 2 people that, I get to continue to grow and build this great little thing that we started. So I'm super thankful for you guys and for the show and for all, everybody that's ever sent us a like, downloaded a show, commented on a message board, anything like that. I mean, it's Gene mentions it a lot and so do we, but, you never, can never vocalize how thankful we are for all of our fans. You know, we still have a lot of people that have been on here since day one, like literally show one. So continue to grow. Gene also mentioned the guy, you know, Freddie and all the guys at Empire, that, you know, that partnership has just been an absolute blessing. I think that's the only way to say it, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, and guess what? They're very welcome and very happy to work with us, and we're very happy to work with them too.
Yeah. So, you know, after all that,
Okay,
it's you know, everything you said is right though. So, you know, I mean, you can't discredit it, but you know, I'm thankful for all of it. I hope everybody has a great day tomorrow. Watch the football, spend some time with your family, and like I always said, reflect and, you know, really think about and be grateful for the people you're sitting there eating dinner with, and, you know, why you love them. And, you know, life's a lot about perspective. So try to do that tomorrow. Take a couple minutes, be thankful for all the family and friends you have in your life, and enjoy the day. Eat a bunch of good food, watch some football, hang out with some family.
And the last thing, I know I'm missing it this year. Did the Turkey Bowl last year with Gene RJ. I'm taking my hiatus this year. I'm gonna be back next year, and I'm gonna be ready to put up some points.
I'll be back
I'm gonna
next
be back.
year after my knee heals. So I'm out Turkey Bowl tomorrow too. My knee, long story. But thank you guys for tuning in. Episode 111, Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. We are signing out.